Chapter 1449, Doesn't She Know Shame? Chapter 1449, Doesn't She Know Shame? Granny Gong was too timid to speak. But not Feng. He could speak freely even in front of Emperor Wu. Ahem, Your Royal Highness, Feng said patiently. When a girl is mad, the sooner you try to appease her, the easier it will be. It'll be very difficult to make her happy if you leave it for too long. Jun Linyuan had wanted to find Feng Wu, but he realized what he was doing when he heard Feng. Me appease her? Feng, you must be out of your mind. He then shut the door from inside. Feng was speechless. Granny Gong heaved a sigh. I'll go talk nicely to Miss Wu. Her young master had made the mess, but she had to clean up after him. Feng nodded in resignation. Feng Wu dashed off in frustration. She ran all the way out of the Crown Prince's residence and back to the Feng Manor. She bumped into a person outside Fallen Star Yard. Watch where you're going, the person cried out. After recognizing Feng Wu, she immediately shut up. It was none other than Feng Lu herself, and Dugu Mingxi was with her. Although she had lost her baby, she and Lady Wang had somehow managed to make Dugu Mingxi care even more for Feng Lu, and they were preparing for an engagement reception. Feng Lu was furious when she saw Feng Wu. Dugu Mingxi didn't like Feng Wu either, both from what happened before and because of the humiliation which Dugu Yamo had gone through today. Feng Wu ignored them and walked straight in. Feng Wu, stop right there. As the favorite son of the Dugu family, Dugu Mingxi had never been ignored like this. Feng Wu had a fierce energy about her when she was in a bad mood, so she turned around and stared at Dugu Mingxi with her cold gaze. Dugu Mingxi was a spoiled young heir, and that murderous look was more than he could take. His stomach lurched, and he felt a chill run down his spine. Feng Wu, how dare you? Are you trying to hurt young Master Dugu? Feng Lu had dealt with Feng Wu quite a few times, so she wasn't as intimidated. Feng Wu's gaze swept over them before she turned around to go inside. Just then, the door to Fallen Star Yard opened, and Granny Zhao appeared in the doorway. Seeing that the door was open, Feng Lu knew that her voice could easily be heard inside, so she snorted and said, Feng Wu, after what you've done, how dare you come back? Do you know how much shame you've brought to our clan? Granny Zhao was about to chase Feng Lu away, but she frowned when she heard those words. Uncle Chiu, Ling, and Chaoga were all there, and the beautiful lady was doing some needlework in the yard as well. It had been so peaceful and quiet in Fallen Star Yard before Feng Lu disrupted the atmosphere. Feng Lu stared at Feng Wu and smirked. What? After doing such a humiliating thing, are you going to leave just like that? There were a lot of people in Fallen Star Yard, and everyone went out and glared at Feng Lu. The short-tempered Chaoga rushed over to Feng Lu and picked her up by the collar. What was that? Do you want to get your ass kicked? Feng Lu smirked. Get my ass kicked? Ha ha. Why don't you ask Feng Wu what she did? Does she have no shame at all? Chapter 1450, Untitled. Chapter 1450, Untitled. Chaoga raised a fist, but Feng Wu shook her head. What did I do? What do you mean? Feng Wu decided to stop ignoring Feng Lu. She walked up to her and gestured at Chaoga to put her down. Once released, Feng Lu started mocking Feng Wu again. What did you do? Huh? Feng Wu, the entire capital city has heard of it. Stop pretending. Feng Wu said calmly, speak or go away. Seeing her elaborate speech received with nonchalance, Feng Lu was furious. She smirked. You can quit pretending already. You're just a despicable maid now. How dare you act pretentiously in front of me? A despicable maid? Granny Zhao and the others were all surprised. What was that supposed to mean? Feng Lu snorted. You don't know? Feng Wu has been turned into His Royal Highness's personal maid. Personal? Chaoga paled and grabbed Feng Wu by the arm. Xiao Wu, is that true? Feng Wu was already mad because of what Jun Linyuan had done, and hearing Feng Lu's slander, she almost had flames coming out her eyes. She stared at Feng Lu with a cold look in her eyes and didn't say a word. Thinking that Feng Wu was intimidated, Feng Lu rejoiced, and her tone was even more sarcastic. Of course it's true. So many people in the Immortal Flower Grove heard it. The Crown Prince only said it in passing, but Feng Wu couldn't wait to say yes. Do you know what people outside are saying now? When I went to the Duga family today, Feng Lu spoke in a serious tone. They asked me about it and wondered why a daughter of the Feng clan would want to become a bed-warming maid. Do you know how embarrassed I was when Aunt Dugu asked me that? I was so humiliated. Feng Wu, can you think about other people when you do something like this in the future? Fine, we all know you're in love with His Royal Highness and can't wait to get into his bed, but please don't just think about yourself the next time you're infatuated. I'm your cousin, and your humiliation becomes mine. If your reputation is ruined, so is mine. I can't believe this. If the Dugu family calls off the engagement, it'll be all your fault. Feng Lu had so many grudges against Feng Wu. Now that she finally had a chance, she would make sure to let it all out. Since she was deliberately trying to make a scene, instead of trying to control the damage, she yelled very loudly. Soon, more people had gathered around. Not only the members of Fallen Star Yard, even Feng Yinfeng and Lady Wang showed up. Feng Lu was even more pleased when she saw the crowd. She stared at Feng Wu and said sarcastically, Feng Wu, you're a shame to our clan. If you still have the least bit of shame, you should cut ties with the Feng clan. What's wrong? Feng Yinfeng frowned. Father, Feng Lu walked up to her parents as soon as she saw them and told them all about Feng Wu's job as Junlin Yuan's personal maid. She also stressed that Feng Wu was there to warm his bed. Warm his bed? Lady Wang looked astonished, and she stared at Feng Lu in disbelief. You can't make up stories like that. I'm not. All the people in the Immortal Flower Grove heard it. I'm not making up any stories. Feng Wu, tell us. Did you or did you not agree to become the Crown Prince's personal maid? Chapter 1451. Is it true? Chapter 1451. Is it true? Instantly, all eyes were on Feng Wu. As Feng Lu's mother, Lady Wang certainly knew what Feng Lu meant. Feng Lu had suffered so much defeat at Feng Wu's hands. Now that she finally had the upper hand, Lady Wang had to back her up. Hence, Lady Wang faked an astonished face and smacked Feng Lu on the head. Watch your language. That's your sister. Feng Lu smirked. If she really thinks of herself as my sister, she should leave this clan. Otherwise, she'll only bring us shame. Lady Wang gritted her teeth and cast a stern look at Feng Lu. How can you say such things about Feng Wu? Your sister isn't like that. As she spoke, she smiled at Feng Wu. Xiao Wu, do tell us. Xiao Lu wasn't telling the truth, was she? Surely you wouldn't bring such shame to our family like that. What a question. One could tell how much she hated Feng Wu. Feng Wu didn't know how to describe her feelings right now. Had it not been for the mission, she would never have become Junlin Yuan's maid. Despite her frustration, she kept her face unperturbed. She then glanced at Lady Wang and said indifferently, Junlin Yuan's maid? That's me. What? Lady Wang stared at Feng Wu with unblinking eyes. What did you say? You're really warming his bed now. Feng Wu smirked. My lady, what's that look on your face? Do you think Feng Lu can get this job, even if she wants it? Wow. Lady Wang sucked in her breath. Ew. Lady Wang didn't expect to hear such a bold claim. Aren't you ashamed? Lady Wang went scarlet red in the face. Feng Wu smirked. Ashamed? Other people can't get this opportunity even if they beg for it. Shouldn't I be honored? What's shameful about it? Ew. Lady Wang was so furious that she pointed a shaking finger at Feng Wu. Feng Lu stared at Feng Wu in astonishment as well. She had tried to attack Feng Wu with that piece of news, but Feng Wu didn't care at all. Not only that, she was actually proud of it. Feng Lu didn't know what to say. She felt as if she had thrown a punch with all her strength, only for her fist to hit cotton. The beautiful lady took Feng Wu's hand and looked very concerned. It broke one's heart to see her like that. You're shameless. Lady Wang pointed at Feng Wu's nose. However, Feng Yinfeng smacked her hand away. Ahem. Crossing his hands behind his back, Feng Yinfeng looked at Feng Wu with an expressionless face. He suddenly cleared his throat and gestured at Feng Wu to walk to the side with him. He stared at Feng Wu once they were alone. Feng Wu frowned. Uncle, if there's nothing else, I'm going back inside. Stop. Feng Yinfeng stopped her. Feng Wu looked over her shoulder. Feng Yinfeng probably felt that it was an embarrassing question for him to ask as well, but he couldn't resist the possible gains. In the end, he cleared his throat and asked, "Is Feng Lu telling the truth?" Feng Wu looked at him in bewilderment. It only made Feng Yinfeng even more embarrassed, but he still snorted and asked, "Is it true, the thing between you and His Royal Highness?" Feng Wu said casually, "If by the thing, you mean me becoming his personal maid." Chapter 1452, Untitled. Chapter 1452, Untitled. Feng Yinfeng looked Feng Wu up and down, and had to admit in the end that Feng Wu was a lot prettier than Feng Lu. No wonder even His Royal Highness was. Ahem. Feng Yinfeng cleared his throat. Actually, it's not a bad thing. Feng Wu only gave him an indifferent glance, because she already knew what her uncle was getting at. Indeed, the next thing Feng Yinfeng said was, "Since His Royal Highness is into you now, you should take the chance to make him care for you." Feng Wu looked at him with expressionless eyes. Feng Yinfeng thought that Feng Wu was going to listen to him, so he said patiently, "You have to know how prestigious His Royal Highness is. He's the Crown Prince. You know how many girls are around him all the time?" "Yes, that's right. You're pretty, and His Royal Highness likes you. But can you be sure that His Royal Highness will always like you?" Feng Wu frowned when she heard that. Feng Yinfeng couldn't sense her annoyance at all, and went on trying to persuade her. "Xiao Wu, you have to listen to me. This is a chance you can't miss." Feng Wu. Feng Wu stared at Feng Yinfeng. Feng Yinfeng looked around, leaned closer to Feng Wu, and whispered, "Xiao Wu, well, you still have the chance. You have to." Feng Wu frowned. "What did you say?" Feng Yinfeng said, "You have to get pregnant with the Crown Prince's baby." Feng Wu looked at Feng Yinfeng and found him a complete idiot. How could this man be a senior member of her own family? Feng Yinfeng stared at Feng Wu and stressed each word. "The Crown Prince doesn't have any children now. If you give him a son, do you know what will happen? He'll dote on you, and you'll become the royal family's favorite. The Feng clan will rise because of you. Little Feng Wu, the entire Feng clan is counting on you. Even if you don't want it yourself, you have to do it for the clan. Do you understand?" In the end, Feng Yinfeng was so excited that he was shaking Feng Wu by her shoulders. Feng Wu gave him a "you idiot" look. Seeing how unperturbed Feng Wu was, Feng Yinfeng gradually became disappointed. After a final glance at Feng Yinfeng, Feng Wu turned to leave. Feng Yinfeng's face darkened. Feng Wu didn't even look back. She only said, "Moron, moron." Feng Yinfeng was astonished. He was the minister of the Ministry of Official Personnel, the head of the Feng clan, and Feng Wu's uncle. But she had just called him a moron. "Hey, you stupid." But before he could go on, Feng Wu turned her head and sneered at him. "Uncle, are you urging me to—" Ahem. Feng Yinfeng coughed loudly to stop Feng Wu from telling other people. After all, as her uncle, he would be ridiculed if other people learned that he had urged his niece to sleep with a man, even if that man was Jun Lin Yuan. Although Feng Wu didn't finish the sentence, they all knew what she meant. Fearing that Feng Wu might expose her father, Feng Lu immediately tried to change the subject. "Feng Wu, how can you be so proud when you haven't even been on a winter hunt yet?" Feng Wu rolled her eyes at Feng Lu. Feng Lu smirked. "You don't know what that is, do you?" Chapter 1453, Untitled. Chapter 1453, Untitled. Feng Wu decided to let the idiot go on. Feng Lu gloated. "Of course you don't know what it is, because you're not qualified to go. You can't even be there. That's so funny." Chaoga was so mad that she wanted to hit Feng Lu. After her initial rage, Feng Wu had calmed down by now. She stopped Chaoga and let Feng Lu continue her performance. "Are you done?" Feng Wu looked at her. "Feng Wu, you don't know what to say now, do you?" "Ha ha." Feng Lu laughed in satisfaction. Feng Wu then slammed the door shut. Feng Lu and the others were shut out. "Hey, Feng Wu, open the door. How dare you shut me out?" Feng Lu kicked the door in frustration. However, the door wouldn't budge no matter how hard she kicked. Suddenly, a hush fell over the crowd. Feng Lu turned around and almost jumped in fright because an old woman was standing behind the crowd. And that old woman was staring at her with a very grim look in her eyes. Gee, Granny Gong. Feng Lu felt a chill run up her legs. Granny Gong was only a chief maid when she was in the crown prince's residence, but when she came outside, all the noble ladies of the empire had to address her politely and show her no less respect than they showed Lady Northern Feng. Therefore, when Granny Gong stood outside Fallen Star Yard with a grim face, Lady Wong tugged at Feng Lu's sleeve to shut her up. Feng Lu swallowed. Granny Gong slowly walked up to Feng Lu and suddenly smiled at her. Feng Lu was elated. Had she left a good impression on Granny Gong? Oh God, if she could earn Granny Gong's favor, her life would be so much easier. Feng Lu was thrilled, but there was a crisp sound, and Feng Lu was slapped in the face by none other than Granny Gong herself. Granny Gong. Feng Lu was astonished and felt wronged. The smile had vanished from Granny Gong's face, and her eyes were colder than ice. She stared at Feng Lu with her sharp gaze. Do you want to go on the winter hunt very much? Feng Lu said. Granny Gong, actually, you don't have to bother preparing for it now. Granny Gong said haughtily. Feng Lu stared at Granny Gong in surprise. Lady Wong realized what had happened, so she ran up to Granny Gong and tried to explain. Granny Gong, Lu didn't mean that. Actually, no one in the Feng clan, except for Feng Wu, is allowed to go hunting this time. After that announcement, Granny Gong gave them an arrogant glance and said, Now, get out of here. Feng Lu still tried to explain, but Lady Wong tugged at her to stop her. After politely bidding Granny Gong farewell, Lady Wong took Feng Lu away. Feng Lu wouldn't accept it. Mother, what are you worried about? She's just a nanny, and the chief maid of the crown prince's residence at most. Why does she think she can control our clan? Smack! Lady Wong slapped Feng Lu before she could finish. Shut up now, or you'll incriminate the entire Feng clan. Lady Wong had never been so mad at Feng Lu before. Chapter 1454, Untitled. Chapter 1454, Untitled. Feng Yinfeng had seen Granny Gong, but he thought he was too important to beg her, so he only gave her a nod and was ready to leave. But Granny Gong stopped him in a cold voice. Master Feng. Her voice wasn't loud, but there was something very majestic in it. She was only an elderly maid in the crown prince's residence and was far more inferior to Feng Yinfeng, the minister of the Ministry of Official Personnel. But somehow, Feng Yinfeng felt intimidated by her. Granny Gong stared at Feng Yinfeng with her sharp gaze. Master Feng, you're short-sighted. Feng Yinfeng was utterly baffled and looked at Granny Gong in confusion. Granny Gong snorted. To her, Feng Yinfeng was an idiot. If he had a little more faith in Feng Wu, he would be able to see the crown prince's feelings for her and wouldn't think Feng Wu was a mere bed-warming maid. Feng Yinfeng was about to ask when Granny Gong cut him off in her indifferent voice. Master Feng, think it over. If you're perceptive enough, you may be able to grab this great opportunity. That was all the hint Granny Gong would give him. Great opportunity? Feng Yinfeng was dumbfounded. Yes, a chance to make the Feng clan rise again. Granny Gong stared at the front gate of Fallen Star Yard. To make the Feng clan rise again, Feng Yinfeng was thrilled. Can the Feng clan become one of the 9 major clans again? Granny Gong glanced at Feng Yinfeng. The 9 major clans? You can rise higher than that. Feng Yinfeng was elated. He wanted to ask more questions, but Granny Gong was done reminding him. Master Feng, think it through. After that, Granny Gong walked past Feng Yinfeng and went into Fallen Star Yard. She thought that Feng Yinfeng should understand, because she had made it so obvious. However, Feng Yinfeng was still dumbfounded after Granny Gong went inside. A great opportunity to make the Feng clan great again? What could it be? Could it be Feng Wu? But even if Feng Wu actually climbed into Junlin Yuan's bed and gave him a child, it wouldn't be enough to make the Feng clan rise. Could it be Feng Yinfeng's eyes lit up. Could it be that Feng Wu's child would inherit Jun Lin Yuan's great talent, and the Feng clan would rise because of that genius baby? Yes, that had to be it. Feng Yinfeng successfully persuaded himself and got very excited. He couldn't wait to see Feng Wu pregnant and give birth. Father, you've seen it. Feng Wu was so mean to me. Feng Lu took Feng Yinfeng's hand and complained. Feng Yinfeng had recognized Feng Wu's importance now, so he would never let Feng Lu hurt her. Keep this in mind. No more conflict with Feng Wu. Feng Yinfeng glared at Feng Lu. Any conflicts in the future, and you'll be held responsible. Father, Feng Lu was dumbfounded. She couldn't understand the sudden change in her father's attitude. What on earth happened? Feng Lu couldn't figure out, but Feng Yinfeng wouldn't tell her either. Granny Gong walked in a fallen star yard and asked Feng Wu directly, Miss Wu, do you need me to take care of Miss Feng Lu and the others for you? Take care of? How? Feng Wu stared at Granny Gong in amazement. Granny Gong smiled at Feng Wu and said matter-of-factly, if Miss Wu wants, I can make her disappear. Feng Wu waved her hands. It's not that serious. Chapter 1455, Untitled. Chapter 1455, Untitled. Granny Gong said, then I'll make sure she can't participate in the winter hunt. If we don't teach her a lesson, His Royal Highness will punish me when he hears about it. Feng Wu's eyebrows knitted tightly when Jun Lin Yuan's name was mentioned, and she immediately cut Granny Gong off. Please don't bring up that name anymore. Despite Feng Lu's insult and Feng Yinfeng's reprimand, Feng Wu hadn't really been affected. However, as soon as Granny Gong mentioned Jun Lin Yuan, Feng Wu flared up. Granny Gong wanted to say something, but hesitated. Her poor young master just didn't know how to express his feelings. Miss Wu, His Royal Highness, is just a little childish sometimes. In fact, he's very nice to you. Very nice? Feng Wu couldn't believe her ears. If Jun Lin Yuan was nice to her, then no one in this world could be considered mean. Granny Gong could guess from Feng Wu's silence what she was thinking, so she cleared her throat and said, Ahem, actually, you're very special to His Royal Highness. Feng Wu glanced at Granny Gong in resignation. Very special indeed, but I'd rather not be. Granny Gong said, Miss Wu, actually, the Crown Prince really liked little Feng Wu, but he was just too proud, which was why he always behaved like a bully. She told Feng Wu that. Feng Wu rolled her eyes. Granny Gong, do you believe that? Granny Gong was speechless. She knew that so much misunderstanding had accumulated by now that no explanation would be enough, so she decided to leave it to her young master to solve the problem. She heaved a sigh and said, Miss Wu, I think you should say goodbye to your family for the evening. Feng Wu kept her cold gaze on Granny Gong without saying a word. Despite her reluctance, Granny Gong still looked at Feng Wu and said solemnly, Miss Wu, I think it's time you said goodbye. She made it very clear that Feng Wu had to go back with her tonight. Feng Wu pointed a trembling finger at Granny Gong and remained silent. Chaoga ran up to Feng Wu, put herself between the two people, and glared at Granny Gong. You evil old woman. If you're trying to take Xiao Wu away, you'll have to kill me first. The others gathered around them as well. Qiuling pleaded with her eyes. The beautiful lady was in tears. Granny Gong was speechless. She was only taking Feng Wu to the Crown Prince's residence. Why did they look like she was going to decapitate Feng Wu? Granny Gong ignored them all. She only stared at Feng Wu and said a name. Feng Xiaoqi. Feng Wu frowned. Granny Gong, are you threatening me now? Granny Gong raised an eyebrow. Miss Wu, I think you know the answer. His Royal Highness is the only one who can do that. Jun Lin Yuan. Feng Wu frowned. She had to admit that Jun Lin Yuan could actually do that. Where's Xiaoqi? Feng Wu asked Chaoga. Chaoga had been about to tell Feng Wu about it, and she immediately said, he left with some men who were supposed to be from the Imperial Guards. Xiao Wu, let's go get Xiaoqi now. So it was indeed the Imperial Guards. Feng Wu stared at Granny Gong with a dangerous look in her eyes. Granny Gong remained unperturbed and spoke to Feng Wu in a low voice that only she could hear. The look on Feng Wu's face changed immediately. She stared at Granny Gong. Are you threatening me now? Chapter 1456, Untitled. Chapter 1456, Untitled. Granny Gong said, You think too highly of me. Feng Wu snorted, walked out the door, and headed for the Fong Manor next door. Grand Secretary Fong was a highly capable man and Xiaoqi's teacher. Why would he let the Imperial Guards take Xiaoqi away? However, when she got there, Steward Fong told her that Grand Secretary Fong was out visiting a friend. Out visiting a friend? What a coincidence. Feng Wu frowned. Steward Fong bowed. Yes, the old master received an invitation from old Master Zheng and immediately set out. Did he say when he'll be back? Feng Wu narrowed her eyes. Steward Fong shook his head with a wry smile. Feng Wu went back to Fallen Star Yard and only asked Granny Gong in an indifferent voice, Does Jun Lin Yuan know old Master Zheng? Granny Gong replied in an unperturbed tone, The old master taught His Royal Highness scriptures for a year before. He retired and went back to his hometown after His Royal Highness mastered everything. So old Master Zheng's invitation must have been designed by Jun Lin Yuan to lure Grand Secretary Fong away. Damn you, Jun Lin Yuan. What lengths would he go to just to keep her around him? Feng Wu was speechless. Granny Gong looked at Feng Wu. Miss Wu, stalling may not do young Master Qi any good. Of course Feng Wu knew that, but she still couldn't get over the fact that she was being threatened. Xiao Wu, did the Crown Prince really hit you? The beautiful lady asked between broken sobs. Feng Wu's eyes widened. Did Jun Lin Yuan hit me? Where did that rumor come from? The beautiful lady caressed Feng Wu's face with her soft hands and said nervously, Good. There's no scar. Feng Wu was speechless. She took her mother's hand and frowned. Mom, who told you that? Since the beautiful lady remained at Fallen Star Yard all the time, rumors outside shouldn't be able to reach her, not to mention that it was utter nonsense. Qiuling immediately complained. It's all because of Miss Liu. When young Master Qi was taken away, she came here and spouted all sorts of rumors. We chased her off, but my lady obviously heard her. That's right. They took Xiaoqi away. Xiao Wu, your brother was kidnapped. The beautiful lady sobbed and looked so perplexed. Where did your brother go? Feng Wu gave her mother a sympathetic look. She had no idea what the beautiful lady had gone through, but she had always lived in a confused state like this. To her, the world revolved around Feng Wu and Xiaoqi. Now that Xiaoqi was missing, she was bound to feel anxious. Mom, don't worry. I'll bring Xiaoqi back. Feng Wu sighed inwardly. Granny Gong was right. It would be very unwise of her to argue with Jun Lin Yuan right now. Since she couldn't do that, she had to change her approach. She didn't like the idea, but what choice did she have? Let's go. Feng Wu glanced at Granny Gong and walked out of the courtyard. Granny Gong heaved a sigh. She was genuinely worried that the young couple would fall out again. By now, because of Bishi, the Empress Dowager had noticed Feng Wu again. Granny Gong felt a headache coming on when she thought about that old lady. Feng Wu and Granny Gong left the Feng Manor and went back to the Crown Prince's residence. However, Chapter 1457, Untitled. Chapter 1457, Untitled. Soon, news leaked out of the Feng clan. It was said that Feng Wu ran back home after Jun Lin Yuan hit her, but Granny Gong came after her and took her back to the residence. Jun Lin Yuan was such a high-profile name, and Feng Wu drew a lot of attention. Everyone was so curious about their story that in less than 2 hours, the news spread to every corner of the Imperial capital. Even the Empress Dowager heard it. What? Junjun beat Feng Wu up? The Empress Dowager didn't like Feng Wu in the first place. After what she heard from Bishi, she disliked Feng Wu even more. Therefore, she was secretly delighted when she heard the news. If that's the case, let her stay in the Crown Prince's residence to recover from her injuries. Eliminate her name from the list of participants for the winter hunt. The Empress Dowager didn't want to see Feng Wu's face. Lady Northern Feng was about to speak, but the old lady cast a stern look at her. Don't say a word. Don't mention her name again in front of me. Otherwise, I won't like you anymore. Lady Northern Feng was rendered speechless. What could she do about the willful old lady? All news got around eventually, not to mention a decree from the Empress Dowager herself. Therefore, before Feng Wu and Granny Gong got back to the Crown Prince's residence, the news of Feng Wu being scolded by the Empress Dowager and her name being removed from the list had already gotten around. It spread so fast that someone had to be behind it, and the two of them came back too late to hear the news until the following day. The winter hunt was a big deal for the royal family, but with so many servants around, things were quickly prepared and packed. Early next morning, Feng Wu had yet to wake up when she felt something cold on the tip of her nose. She opened her eyes to find the domineering crown prince sitting by her bed. Feng Wu smacked his hand away and glared at him. "Jun Linyuan, what are you doing?" The proud crown prince felt rather humiliated by her reaction. After what Feng said the night before, Jun Linyuan seemed to realize that what he had done to Feng Wu was wrong. Right now, he was here to mend things. But Feng Wu's rejection immediately set him off. Feng Wu had no idea that she had offended Jun Linyuan, and she glared at him. Even a crown prince shouldn't just walk into a girl's room. "I have my own dignity." Jun Linyuan smirked and said the first thing that came into his mind. You're a bed-warming maid. What dignity do you have?" Feng Wu almost exploded when she heard that. Her eyes went bloodshot red, and she yelled, "Jun Linyuan, what did you say?" Outside, Feng really wanted to smack the crown prince on the head. He didn't know what else he could do. The crown prince was an incredibly smart man, and other people would willingly follow his lead. But when Feng Wu was involved, he simply stopped thinking. What was wrong with him? Seeing that the young couple was going to start a row again, Feng immediately intervened. "Your Royal Highness, you still need to sign a lot of memorials to the throne." Hearing that, Jun Linyuan threw an angry glance at Feng Wu. "You're impossible. Reflect on yourself." He stormed off after that. Chapter 1458, Untitled. Chapter 1458, Untitled. Seeing Jun Linyuan leave, Feng Wu was so frustrated, but she didn't know where to vent. She realized that she was such a wuss around Jun Linyuan. Feng tried to explain to Feng Wu, "Actually, His Royal Highness was here to piss me off, is it?" Feng Wu stared at Feng. Feng was speechless. "What are you still doing there?" Jun Linyuan yelled outside. Feng was speechless. With their temperaments, he wondered when the two of them would reconcile. Feng himself almost felt like crying. With no other choice, he could only give Feng Wu a long look. "Miss Feng, please get up. We're leaving for the winter hunt in an hour." After Feng left, the more Feng Wu thought about it, the more displeased she became. The winter hunt was the last thing she wanted to do right now. However, Jun Linyuan still had Xiaoqi, and she had agreed to be his maid for 18 days, so she had to go. Suppressing her frustration, Feng Wu struggled to her feet. Being as pretty as she was, she didn't need to do much. After quickly washing up and getting dressed, she pushed the door open. "So, Miss Feng is awake." Feng Wu pushed the door open to see a pretty girl leaning against the wall and looking at her in a triumphant way. This was... Feng Wu frowned, because she recognized the person. It was none other than Bishi, the girl who had confronted her before. Feng Wu wasn't in the mood to talk, so she gave her a nod and was going to walk past her. However, "Little maid, where are you going?" Bishi uncrossed her arms and said to Feng Wu with a smile. Her tone was quite provoking. Moreover, who was she to call her a maid? Who did she think she was? Feng Wu was already grumpy from having to get up, and with the row with Jun Linyuan, she was very angry when Bishi just showed up like this. So, she wasn't going to play nice. "To the winter hunt." Feng Wu stared at Bishi. "The winter hunt? Ha ha ha. Are you saying you're going?" Bishi gave her an "you're insane" look. Feng Wu ignored her and continued walking. "You haven't heard?" Bishi shouted behind Feng Wu. She didn't try to keep her voice down, so she had already caused a scene. Slowly, people began to gather. Zhen Xia and a few young maids were standing a short distance away. Zhen Xia was on Zhuo Qingluan's payroll, so she was naturally hostile toward Feng Wu. She was thrilled to see Bishi criticizing Feng Wu. Seeing that Feng Wu was leaving, Bishi said in a sarcastic voice, "Don't you know? You're not qualified to go to this year's winter hunt." "What?" Feng Wu frowned and stared at Bishi. Bishi looked like she had just seen an idiot. "You seem surprised. But didn't you know? Only 4 maids can go, and you're new here. Why would you think you get to go?" Feng was a little baffled. Crossing her hands behind her back, Bishi raised her chin and gloated. Moreover, the Empress Dowager gave a decree. "You, Feng Wu, have been disqualified from going." "Disqualified?" Feng Wu frowned. "Are you sure?" Seeing the way Feng Wu frowned, Bishi thought that Feng Wu was unhappy, which pleased her immensely. "It's an order from the Empress Dowager, so of course it's true." "Feng Wu, don't tell me you just presumed you could go. How do you feel now? I bet you're so mad." "Ha ha ha." Chapter 1459, Royal Progress 1. Chapter 1459, Royal Progress 1. Feng Wu was speechless. She had never wanted to go to the event in the first place. Hearing this good news, she felt like throwing a party to celebrate. "Are you sure I'm not qualified to go?" Feng Wu looked at Bishi with her brooding eyes. Bishi snorted. "Feng Wu, I see that you really want to go hunting. Too bad, you're not allowed to." Ha ha ha. The idea of Feng Wu not being able to go made Bishi feel utterly satisfied. But Feng Wu, as soon as she heard that she wasn't qualified, she was over the moon. Without another word, she turned around and headed back. She moved so fast that the others didn't have time to react. When Bishi realized what had happened, Feng Wu was already several hundred meters away. Dumbfounded, Bishi watched as Feng Wu walked away. She then turned to Junxia with a confused look on her face. She left just like that?" Bishi stared at Junxia and mumbled. Junxia was too smart to get involved in the conflict between Bishi and Feng Wu, so she gave Bishi a little bow and left with her young maids. Bishi was speechless. By then, the crown prince had already gotten into his carriage. However, he was so angry at the moment that no one dared to get any closer. Even Feng couldn't start a normal conversation with him. "Why aren't we moving?" the crown prince asked impatiently. "That girl is so grumpy. I can't even make fun of her now." The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. "Your Royal Highness, some people are still not here yet, especially Feng." However, the crown prince cut him off with a wave of his hand. "If they're not here yet, they're not going." He was so angry that he didn't understand what Feng was saying. Feng was speechless, for he knew that his young master didn't hear him clearly, so he raised his voice and said, "Your Royal Highness, Miss Feng Wu hasn't arrived yet." Something clicked in Jun Linyuan's head. No one could disturb him like that, not even the Emperor or the Empress Dowager. However, whenever Feng Wu's name popped up, it meant something special. However, he still cared about his pride more. How dare she not show up? Good. That's interesting. So interesting. Jun Linyuan smirked. "Let her stay behind, then. Let's go." After that, Jun Linyuan gave a wave, and they were on their way. Bishi was one of the maids who was allowed to tag along. She wasn't on the list at first, but since she worked for the Empress Dowager, all it took was a word from the old lady, and she was given permission. She was a little fidgety after confronting Feng Wu today, fearing that the crown prince would punish her later. However, Bishi was thrilled when she heard what Jun Linyuan said. "Feng Wu, there I was thinking you mean something to His Royal Highness. But as it turns out, you're nothing special." Bishi wasn't worried anymore. The winter hunt always took place in the Selna grassland. That grassland was where the Selna tribe lived. They were one of the fiercer tribes in the empire and known as the tribe on horseback. The tribesmen were known for their towering heights and sturdiness. They were born with great strength and were innately amazing soldiers. Chapter 1460, Royal Progress 2. Chapter 1460, Royal Progress 2. Therefore, even Emperor Wu, the ruler of the continent, had to be on friendly terms with the tribe. The winter hunt was when Emperor Wu paid a friendly visit to the chief of the tribe, and more went on behind the scenes than any ordinary person could comprehend. That was why Emperor Wu would have a large entourage every single time. At Dingwu Gate, Emperor Wu brought more than 20 officials with him this time, all of whom were his closest confidants. And they all came with their own families as well, who had carriage after carriage of luggage. Right now, the square outside Dingwu Gate was packed. Luckily, the families all had their allotted spots, so it wasn't very messy. There was a hubbub of voices as soon as Emperor Wu showed up. "Your Majesty!" Emperor Wu's steward smiled wryly and spoke in a low voice when the Emperor was about to give the order to set out. "His Royal Highness isn't here yet." "What?" Emperor Wu's face immediately darkened. For this trip, he had not only brought Empress Dugu, but quite a few concubines as well. However, Empress Dugu was the only one sharing a carriage with the Emperor. Hearing the steward's words, Empress Dugu thought that her chance had arrived, so she slowly said, "His Royal Highness is really arrogant. Your Majesty has to wait for him now." Emperor Wu was already unhappy, and Empress Dugu's deliberate words only aggravated the situation. He was visibly in a bad mood. The chief steward smiled bitterly inwardly. Her Majesty is still so selfish. She's all about making her own son the crown prince instead. However, the chief steward was completely on Jun Linyuan's side, even if the young man had never been particularly nice to him. Jun Linyuan is getting bolder and bolder. Emperor Wu smacked the table. "Your Majesty, we calculated the best time to set out. If we're delayed because of His Royal Highness, it won't be a good sign. What are we going to do?" Empress Dugu feigned a worried tone. Emperor Wu snorted. "If he doesn't want to come, then don't. Tell everyone we're leaving now." Emperor Wu had two stewards with him. The chief steward, Zhao Rahai, was 100% Jun Linyuan's supporter. The other steward was by the eunuch, who had served Emperor Wu when the latter had still been the crown prince. After all these years, they had quite a close relationship. However, Bai was on Empress Dugu's side, so he didn't like Jun Linyuan. The chief steward and Bai left the Imperial carriage, and Bai looked pleased. He glanced at the chief steward and smirked. How can His Royal Highness make His Majesty wait? That's too arrogant. The chief steward almost rolled his eyes. I'm sure His Royal Highness has his own reasons. Bai asked, does he? I wonder who is important enough to make His Majesty wait. His voice might be low, but Emperor Wu heard everything. That's unacceptable. Emperor Wu was very serious about his dignity, and he wouldn't be challenged. Now that Bai had said that, his impression of Jun Linyuan immediately worsened. What was Jun Linyuan doing now? Halfway to the square, the crown prince couldn't stand it anymore. He had been thinking about Feng Wu the entire time. Chapter 1461, Royal Progress 3. Chapter 1461, Royal Progress 3. In the end, Jun Linyuan felt a throbbing pain in his head. What was the point of going if little Feng Wu didn't go? Jun Linyuan suddenly realized a frightening fact. Before he knew it, Feng Wu had become so important to him. Without Feng Wu, everything was so dull. He sat there dazed for a very long time when he realized that shocking fact. When he returned to himself, Feng, he told the carriage to stop. Phew, Feng sighed in relief. He knew it. The two of them couldn't stay mad at each other for long, but he had thought that Feng Wu would be the first to give in. As it turned out, the first to surrender was obviously the one who was more in love. I left something behind at the house. Go fetch it for me, Jun Linyuan told Feng. Feng cleared his throat. Left something behind? My dear Crown Prince, don't you have a storage ring where you store all the important files? That excuse was simply too lame and stupid. However, Feng wasn't going to expose his young master, so he put on his most innocent smile and asked, Your Royal Highness, what did you leave behind? Jun Linyuan asked, You don't know? Feng played dumb. I don't. Your Royal Highness, please enlighten me. Jun Linyuan's carriage was in the center and drew the most attention. Therefore, when they saw Jun Linyuan in the carriage staring at Feng outside in vexation, they all knew that something was going on. Turn back. Jun Linyuan threw a dirty look at Feng and told everyone to turn around. Since he was the crown prince, he was traveling with the whole shebang. It was practically an army. Everyone was dumbfounded. Go back. Everyone looked at one another in bewilderment because they didn't know why they had to turn around. Hadn't Feng said it earlier? Their delay would slow down the entire team. What on earth happened? They exchanged confused looks. Jun Lin Yuan didn't let anyone question him. Looking at his dark face, no one dared to ask. Your Royal Highness, time is running out. If we go back now, His Majesty may... Granny Gong tried to warn Jun Lin Yuan, but he wouldn't be Jun Lin Yuan if he listened. He only threw Granny Gong a resentful and displeased look. Resentful and displeased? Granny Gong felt perplexed. She could understand if His Royal Highness was unhappy, but why the resentment? Feng nudged her with his elbow and mouthed Feng Wu's name. Granny Gong was usually a smart person, but that didn't mean that was always the case. Like right now, she didn't know how Feng Wu had anything to do with this. Miss Wu still isn't here. Seeing that Jun Lin Yuan was getting more and more furious, and that the air felt like it was going to freeze, Feng lowered his voice and enlightened Granny Gong when Jun Lin Yuan wasn't looking. Granny Gong's eyes widened. Miss Wu isn't here? Why? She's on the entourage list. Chapter 1462. Why is His Royal Highness late? 1. Chapter 1462. Why is His Royal Highness late? 1. Feng said grumpily. Feng Wu really isn't here. Everyone immediately started talking and arguing. So, His Royal Highness really wants to go back because Feng Wu isn't here. So, His Royal Highness really cares about Feng Wu, doesn't he? So, His Royal Highness. Granny Gong was dumbfounded. Miss Wu isn't in the entourage? How can that be? Miss Wu should be here. Granny Gong searched everywhere, but when she couldn't find Feng Wu, she panicked. She had come up with the name list for the Crown Prince's residence, so she knew better than anyone else where Feng Wu should be. Her Majesty the Empress Dowager specifically gave the order that Feng Wu's name shouldn't be on the list, someone said in a low voice. The Empress Dowager's order. Immediately, all eyes were on Bishi. Bishi was from the palace, and she had been out last night. Knowing that she couldn't pretend that she was innocent, Bishi stepped out and spoke in a low voice. Her Majesty did summon me last night, and she asked me about Feng Wu, but I'm not to be blamed. Her Majesty doesn't like Feng Wu to begin with. Granny Gong's face darkened. So it was indeed because of Bishi. Are you an idiot? Infuriated, Granny Gong smacked Bishi on the forehead. Bishi was dumbfounded. Even those around her stared at Granny Gong in disbelief. Bishi had been sent here by the Empress Dowager, who had explicitly told everyone that Bishi was going to be the Crown Prince's concubine. But now, Granny Gong had just hit her in front of so many people. Bishi was dumbfounded and stared at Granny Gong in disbelief. You hit me? You're just an old maid. How dare you hit me? Granny Gong took a deep breath. It was really tiresome to deal with such a stupid woman. Bishi had no idea what Granny Gong was thinking and went on yelling at her. You hit me because of Feng Wu. She's a nobody. How dare you hit me because of her? That's right. Feng Wu wanted to come this morning, but I stopped her. I laughed at her and told her she wasn't qualified. So what? What can you possibly do to me? Bishi raised her chin and looked very smug. She believed that she was going to be an Imperial concubine one day. However, before she could go on, a fair, slender, and strong hand wrapped itself around her thin, porcelain neck. Oh no, Bishi felt suffocated and couldn't breathe. She was then lifted up until her feet left the ground. Your Royal Highness. Feng had looked away for a moment, and the next thing he knew, Jun Lin Yuan had picked Bishi up by the neck. Your Royal Highness, don't. Granny Gong said hastily. Bishi had such a special status that she couldn't be handled roughly. Otherwise, Granny Gong wouldn't have put up with her for so long. However, crack, they heard the crisp sound of bones breaking. Everyone's eyes widened. They watched as Jun Lin Yuan snapped Bishi's thin, white neck. Just like that, the pretty girl was dead. Chapter 1463. Why is His Royal Highness late? 2. Chapter 1463. Why is His Royal Highness late? 2. All around them, there was only silence. No one dared to breathe loudly or make a sound. That was so terrifying. Chills ran up their legs and spines, and they felt cold to the bone. They had always known that the Crown Prince was a heartless man who could kill easily. But recently, it had been a while since the servants at the residence saw the Crown Prince lose his temper. They even thought that they were beginning to see something human in him. So, many people involuntarily thought that the Crown Prince had become more approachable. As it turned out, he was still that heartless Crown Prince. Your Royal Highness. Immediately, everyone dropped to their knees, lowered their heads, and didn't dare to meet Jun Linyuan's eyes. The Crown Prince looked around with his cold, murderous eyes. His eyes seemed to see through everything. The crowd shook from head to toe. They didn't dare meet his gaze and had to control their breathing so that they wouldn't make a sound. Let's go. Jun Linyuan snorted, tossed Bishi aside, and marched off. The others felt chilled to the bone. The Crown Prince's residence. Feng Wu had slept in that morning and was enjoying the moment. She was having a sweet dream when she felt a cold, intense gaze on her. The person never looked away. Feng Wu was so sensitive that she couldn't ignore such an intense gaze. Involuntarily, she opened her eyes. Jun Linyuan. Feng Wu rubbed her sleepy eyes and yawned. Jun Linyuan gave her a half-smile. Crossing his arms, Jun Linyuan strolled over to the bed and stopped in front of Feng Wu. You're awake. The Crown Prince pinched Feng Wu's plump cheeks with his slender fingers. Jun Linyuan's fingers were as cold as ever, and his touch immediately woke Feng Wu up. She shuddered and smacked his hands away. Didn't you go to the winter hunt? Why are you back? Feng Wu was surprised. The Crown Prince smirked. To look for you. To look for me? Feng Wu pointed a finger at herself. Haven't you heard? Her Majesty the Empress Dowager specifically gave the order that I'm not allowed to go. Jun Linyuan gave her an indifferent glance. Why do I feel that you look very happy? I'm not. Feng Wu wasn't a fool, so of course she wasn't going to admit it. She immediately said, I'm not qualified to go? I'm so sad. I'm such a pitiful girl. Jun Linyuan stared at Feng Wu like he was looking at an idiot. Under his gaze, Feng Wu couldn't keep pretending, so she cleared her throat to give herself a way out. Hey, Jun Linyuan, are you also not going to the winter hunt? Feng Wu really didn't want to go. The wind was the harshest on the Senal grassland during this season, and it wouldn't be a comfortable journey. But because of that, the beasts which came out at this time were fierce magical beasts, making it the perfect season for a hunt. Let's go. Jun Linyuan wrapped his right hand around Feng Wu's little hand and dragged her toward the door. Hey, where are you taking me? Feng Wu suddenly had a bad feeling. The winter hunt. The Crown Prince's answer was very succinct. Feng Wu said, Hey, I'm not going. The Crown Prince grunted. Didn't you just call yourself a sad, pitiful girl? Chapter 1464. Why is His Royal Highness late? 3. Chapter 1464. Why is His Royal Highness late? 3. Feng Wu buried her face in her hands. But I'm not qualified to go. Her Majesty the Empress Dowager gave the order to exclude me from the entourage. The Crown Prince looked at Feng Wu as if she was an idiot. Are you stupid? Feng Wu was dumbfounded. The Crown Prince said, That order is meaningless to me. Feng Wu said, Ahem, that's an Imperial decree. Jun Linyuan said, To other people, he was always the one who would be treated differently. Feng Wu shook her head. What more could she say? Most of the Crown Prince's entourage had left for Dingwu Gate, led by Granny Gong. When they arrived, the others were ready to set off. The chief steward had been keeping an eye on the surroundings and was finally relieved when he saw the people of the Crown Prince's residence. His Royal Highness is finally here. The chief steward heaved a sigh of relief. Bai frowned. He hadn't expected Jun Linyuan to arrive in time, and had thought that he could use the opportunity to trash the Crown Prince. What a waste of an opportunity. Bai was disappointed. I see that His Royal Highness decided to show up at the last minute, Bai said sarcastically. The chief steward glanced at Bai. Master Bai, I advise you not to step out of line. His Royal Highness's position isn't easily shaken. I snorted and wouldn't comment. A stepmother could turn a real father into a stepfather as well. His Majesty doted on Empress Dugu right now, and of course, he loved their son, the second prince. Was the crown prince's position that stable? I didn't think so. The chief steward was about to tell Emperor Wu that the crown prince was here when Granny Gong gave him a wry smile. She then told him that the crown prince wasn't in the carriage. What? The chief steward panicked. How can His Royal Highness not be here? The chief steward stared at Granny Gong in disbelief. Granny Gong, this isn't the time to make jokes like that. I gave Granny Gong a strange look as well. Granny Gong smiled bitterly. She knew what the situation was like right now, but what could she do about the willful prince? Just then, they heard Emperor Wu's voice from the carriage nearby. What's with the noise? Bai immediately seized the opportunity to step forward and answer loudly. Your Majesty, the crown prince's entourage is here. The chief steward and Granny Gong frowned as they stared at Bai. Bai had put it in such an ambiguous way that he had deliberately made the emperor think that the crown prince had arrived. Emperor Wu was still mad, and he smirked when he heard that. Tell that unruly son of mine to get over here. Granny Gong knew that she couldn't let things go on like this, so she stepped forward, bowed to the Imperial carriage, and replied, Your Majesty, His Royal Highness hasn't arrived yet. What? Empress Dugu's instigation earlier already made Emperor Wu very displeased with Jun Ling Yuan's arrogance, and he flared up when he heard Granny Gong's answer. Smack! Emperor Wu smacked his chair, and an armrest fell off. Seeing this, Empress Dugu immediately held his arm and said softly, Your Majesty, please don't be angry. Do calm down. Rage is bad for you, and your health is the most important thing. Chapter 1465, Untitled. Chapter 1465, Untitled. Holding Empress Dugu's hand, Emperor Wu said in a solemn voice, Even you are concerned about my health, but that defiant son of mine, he wants to see me die from frustration so that he can take the throne. That last bit was a very serious accusation. Empress Dugu secretly rejoiced, but she feigned a terrified voice and said, Your Majesty, please don't be mad. I'm sure that's not the crown prince's intention. The more she tried to appease Emperor Wu, the angrier he became. Since he doesn't want to go, then don't. Emperor Wu waved his hand in vexation. Seeing that things were getting out of hand, Granny Gong ran to the Empress Dowager for help. The old lady was already in her carriage and couldn't be bothered to move around. However, she sat up in astonishment when she heard the news. Is the crown prince still not here? The old lady's face darkened. All the officials were waiting outside Dingwu Gate, and they had all heard Emperor Wu's opinion of his son, which was very bad for the teenager. Granny Gong nodded without hesitation. That shouldn't be the case. The Empress Dowager frowned and murmured, Junjun is the type of person who always keeps his promises. He won't arrive early, but he won't be late either. There has to be a reason for it. After that, she suddenly looked up and stared at Granny Gong. Speak. What happened in the crown prince's residence? Granny Gong said, Well, are you not going to tell me? Fine. The Empress Dowager stared at Granny Gong and said, Bring Bishi here. Bishi. Granny Gong felt like fainting. Bishi couldn't come because Jun Linyuan had killed her. What? Seeing that Granny Gong wasn't moving, the Empress Dowager looked displeased. Miss Bishi, after some hesitation, Granny Gong finally told the old lady, Miss Bishi is dead. What? The Empress Dowager was astonished. She stared at Granny Gong in disbelief. Ow! Did someone kill her? Granny Gong said calmly, It was His Royal Highness. The furious Empress Dowager immediately calmed down. Was it Junjun? Yes, Your Majesty. Granny Gong nodded. All anger disappeared from the old lady's face, and she waved her hand. I'm sure Junjun had his reasons. So be it. It's no big deal. Granny Gong was speechless. She was already used to the Empress Dowager's behavior, so she wasn't surprised by her reaction. The others around the old lady were even more used to it, and no one looked the least bit disturbed. "So, are you here because something happened to the Crown Prince?" The Empress Dowager looked at Granny Gong. Granny Gong immediately said, "His Royal Highness is late and hasn't arrived yet, so His Majesty is displeased." "That's it. I thought it was something much bigger. Come, let's have a look." With Granny Lon at her elbow, the Empress Dowager left her carriage and headed for Emperor Wu's. Meanwhile, Emperor Wu was throwing a tantrum at Junlin Yuan's late arrival. He smacked the table and bellowed, "If that defiant son doesn't want to go, disqualify him. We're leaving now." Empress Dugu secretly rejoiced. It seemed that the crown prince had fallen out of favor. Seeing how furious the emperor was, all the officials shivered in fear and didn't dare to move. "Your Majesty," a cold voice rang out at that moment. Chapter 1466, Untitled. Chapter 1466, Untitled. Emperor Wu was wondering who was bold enough to intrude on him when he saw that it was his mother. "Mother, what are you doing here?" Emperor Wu quickly moved closer to hold her arm with an obsequious smile on his face. Being a filial son, Emperor Wu had always been very obedient toward his mother. The Empress Dowager glared at Emperor Wu. "I hear that you're going to remove Junjun from the entourage." Emperor Wu cleared his throat. The Empress Dowager glared at him. "It's true. You really are going to do that?" Empress Dugu interjected. "Your Majesty, that's only because His Royal Highness is so—" "Shut your mouth." The old lady was furious, and she glowered at Empress Dugu. "I'm talking to my son. This isn't your place to speak." Empress Dugu was speechless. The Empress Dowager cast a stern look at Empress Dugu. "You just can't wait to see the emperor hate the crown prince so that your own son can take his place, can you? I'm telling you, in your dreams." Empress Dugu felt so embarrassed at being scolded like that. She let her eyes fill with tears as she said in a pitiful voice, "Your Majesty, you've misunderstood me. I just don't want to see His Majesty wronged." Emperor Wu held her hand and was touched by his dear Zitong. The Empress Dowager glared at Empress Dugu. "Just shut up," Emperor Wu said. "Mother." The Empress Dowager lashed out at Emperor Wu. "Can't you see by now what her plan is? Why is she crying? Have I wronged her? Junjun has no parents. He should be the one crying." Emperor Wu cleared his throat. "Mother, I'm still around. When there's a stepmother, the real father will forget about his son. You're as bad as a stepfather now." Emperor Wu cleared his throat. "Oomph." The Empress Dowager snorted and sat down on the soft cushion. Emperor Wu said, "Mother." The Empress Dowager said, "Not another word. I'm going to wait here, and I'm not leaving before Junjun arrives." Emperor Wu didn't know what to say. Empress Dugu was speechless. She held Emperor Wu's hand in frustration, humiliated by the old lady's scolding. Emperor Wu could only hold her hand without being able to offer any comforting words. Around them, all the officials lowered their heads in silence. The chief steward and Bai didn't say a word either. They all knew perfectly well that as long as the Empress Dowager was around, no one would threaten Jun Lin Yuan's position. While the situation was under control, over on the other end in the Crown Prince's residence. "Come with me." Jun Lin Yuan took Feng Wu's hand. Feng Wu frowned. "I really don't want to go." Jun Lin Yuan looked back at Feng Wu. "Are you sure?" Feng Wu nodded repeatedly. "Yes, very." Jun Lin Yuan snorted. "Who gave you the right to stay here?" Feng Wu was dumbfounded. Jun Lin Yuan snorted. "You go where I go." "Got it." Feng Wu was speechless. Before Feng Wu realized what was going on, Jun Lin Yuan pulled her away, and she had to stumble after him. Feng Wu tired to shake his hand off, but the Crown Prince only held her hand tighter. On their way from the Crown Prince's residence to Dingwu Gate. Chapter 1467, Untitled. Chapter 1467, Untitled. A lot of people were positioned along the road just to report on Junlin Yuan's whereabouts. There, His Royal Highness has left his residence. His Royal Highness has passed Anding Street. His Royal Highness has crossed on a bridge. His Royal Highness has. Soon, the news reached Dingwu Gate. Meanwhile, everyone was silent, and no one made a sound. Those who were qualified to come were anything but fools, and they all realized how tense the situation was. All hail His Royal Highness. A high-pitched voice at the gate announced Jun Linyuan's arrival. Despite the eunuch's shrill voice, the others felt very relieved to hear it. They could finally breathe normally again. Hearing that, the Empress Dowager rose to her feet and threw a dirty look at Emperor Wu. I told you that Jun would be here. Wasn't I right? After that, she headed out. Empress Dugu's face turned livid. Outside, Jun. The Empress Dowager was elated to see Jun Linyuan. She was about to walk up to him with Granny Lan when she looked up and saw Jun Linyuan holding Feng Wu's hand. Immediately, the Empress Dowager's face turned livid. The Empress Dowager glared at Feng Wu with cold eyes. Feng Wu used all her might to throw off Jun Linyuan's hand. However, that didn't appease the Empress Dowager. The look in her eyes only turned even more fierce. Taking Jun Linyuan's hand, she said, Jun, you're finally here. Everyone's waiting for you. What took you so long? Jun Linyuan gave Feng Wu an indifferent glance. Feng Wu looked at him angrily and wouldn't let him blame it on her. Ahem. Jun Linyuan coughed into his fist and asked, Can we go now? Yes, of course. You lot. Helped the Crown Prince to his carriage. The Empress Dowager was used to taking care of Jun Linyuan like this, but it meant much more to the officials. Feng Wu was about to get into the carriage as well, when the Empress Dowager shot a warning glance at her. Feng Wu sighed inwardly. Come to my carriage. The old lady threw a dirty look at Feng Wu and gave the order. Feng Wu was speechless. Granny Gong wanted to follow them, but her stomach lurched when she saw the look the Empress Dowager gave her. She gave Feng Wu a concerned look before she turned her searching look on Jun Linyuan. Seeing that Jun Linyuan wouldn't respond, Granny Gong could only heave a sigh and leave the young people to their own devices. After a delay of nearly 2 hours, the procession finally started moving. In the Empress Dowager's carriage, the old lady sat straight in her seat with a solemn look on her face. She kept her unblinking gaze on Feng Wu. Feng Wu lowered her head and stood silently in front of the Empress Dowager like a pitiful little girl. The air felt so heavy. Any other girl would have been frightened to tears by the atmosphere, but not Feng Wu. She was too strong to be affected. However, she had to look frightened. Now you're nervous? The Empress Dowager was pleased when she saw how intimidated Feng Wu looked. Why was the Crown Prince late? She stared at Feng Wu. Chapter 1468, Untitled. Chapter 1468, Untitled. Feng Wu didn't know what to say, because she had no idea why Jun Linyuan was late. However, His Royal Highness has his own way of doing things, and as his maid, I know nothing about it. Feng Wu hesitated at calling herself a maid, but she was going to be Jun Linyuan's maid for the next 18 days, so she had to force herself to say it. The Empress Dowager snorted. I knew it. How can you possibly know what the Crown Prince is thinking? Feng Wu rolled her eyes inwardly. If you knew that, why bother asking in the first place? The Empress Dowager was visibly less displeased after that, but suddenly she seemed to recall something, and the look in her eyes turned very fierce. Feng Wu. She glared at Feng Wu. How dare you? She smacked the armrest. Any other girl would have been frightened to tears, but not Feng Wu. She was far tougher than the old lady could imagine. Your Majesty, please don't be angry. Feng Wu made to kneel down. Clean her hands, the Empress Dowager said angrily. Maids approached Feng Wu with punishment rulers in their hands and ferocious expressions. The look on Feng Wu's face changed a little. The Empress Dowager was surrounded by capable people, and 2 strong elderly maids pinned Feng Wu down and twisted her arms behind her back. Seeing this, Granny Lan was concerned, so when the Empress Dowager wasn't looking, she raised the curtain and shot Granny Gong a warning glance. Granny Gong had been waiting outside the carriage, and she immediately realized that Feng Wu was in trouble. That was bad. Knowing how Jun Linyuan felt for Feng Wu, Granny Gong could only imagine how chaotic things would get if the Empress Dowager ended up punishing Feng Wu. At that thought, Granny Gong immediately ran off to report to her young master. Clean her hands with the rulers. The Empress Dowager's face was livid, and her tone was very decisive. She believed that Feng Wu had seduced the crown prince. Otherwise, her Junjun would never have arrived late. Outside the carriage, Emperor Wu had brought people of various clans with him this time. Northern Feng Mansion, the Zhua family, the Feng clan, the Dugu family, and Mu Manor were all included. Of the royal family, the Empress Dowager, the Empress concubine Oriole, the third and fifth princesses, and the third prince were coming along as well. They had yet to recover from the shocking scene of Jun Linyuan arriving with Feng Wu's hand in his. So, right now, they were all discussing it among themselves in their respective carriages. Lady Northern Feng wasn't happy about it, because she still didn't think that Jun Linyuan would be a good husband for Feng Wu. As for the Zhua family, Mrs. Zhua's eyes were opened so wide, and she wanted to throttle Feng Wu. Because of Dugu Yamo, Mrs. Dugu didn't hate Feng Wu any less than Mrs. Wu did. Lady Mu also disliked Feng Wu because of what happened to Mu Yao Yao. The Feng clan. Granny Gong had excluded the Feng clan from the list, but Empress Dugu had somehow managed to get their names added back. Therefore, Feng Lu, Feng Sang, and Lady Wang were also here. There were other families and clans as well. Mrs. Zhua and Mrs. Dugu were sitting in the same carriage at the moment. Mrs. Zhua frowned and asked Mrs. Dugu, "Sister, did you see it?" Mrs. Dugu asked what? Mrs. Zhua said, "His Royal Highness and Feng Wu are quite familiar with each other." Mrs. Dugu smiled a little. "Sister, are you nervous?" "Well, Qing Wan is the crown prince's wife-to-be, so your reaction is only to be expected." Chapter 1469, Untitled. Chapter 1469, Untitled. Holding Mrs. Dugu's hand, Mrs. Wu smiled wryly. "Sister, I'm not alone in this. Isn't Yamo interested in that position as well?" The entire Imperial capital had heard how Dugu Yamo had tried to confess her love to Jun Linyuan, but ended up having her immortal flowers taken by Feng Wu. Because of that, Dugu Yamo had become the laughingstock of the whole city. Mrs. Dugu was furious when Mrs. Wu brought that up. She asked, "Sister, what's that supposed to mean?" Mrs. Wu immediately waved her hands. "Sister, please don't be mad. I mean no disrespect. It's just that everyone simply hates Feng Wu's guts, and they want to throttle her with their bare hands." "Sister, don't you feel that way as well?" Mrs. Dugu snorted. Mrs. Wu tried to play nice. "Sister, how about we work together?" Mrs. Dugu narrowed her eyes and stared at Mrs. Zhua without saying a word. Mrs. Zhua smiled. "Sister, don't you want to get revenge for Yamo? I heard that Yamo was devastated and even tried to kill herself at home. What a pity." Dugu Yamo was Mrs. Dugu's favorite, and the girl's tantrum had turned the household upside down. The mood in the manor was quite depressing and restless. Dugu Yamo had tried to kill herself by smashing her head against a wall, but she failed, and there was now a big swollen lump on her forehead. It was quite a sorry sight. At that thought, Mrs. Dugu gritted her teeth. "What are you proposing?" She stared at Mrs. Zhua. Mrs. Zhua leaned closer and whispered something in Mrs. Dugu's ear. Mrs. Dugu looked a little relieved, but she still felt doubtful. "Are you sure?" Mrs. Zhua was very confident. "With both of us working on it, of course. If it doesn't work, we can always ask the Empress for help." The Empress was from the Dugu family, and Mrs. Dugu was her sister-in-law, so of course she would be on their side. Moreover, Mrs. Wu smiled a little. "Sister, haven't you noticed? Her Majesty the Empress Dowager doesn't like Feng Wu either." Mrs. Dugu nodded and sighed. That Feng Wu has really turned into everyone's target. She's going to have it very tough on this trip. Because it wasn't just the two of them who wanted to get rid of Feng Wu. Everyone just hates her. Mrs. Dugu smiled. Granny Gong ran at top speed to Jun Linyuan. In fact, the crown prince had been agitated ever since the Empress Dowager took Feng Wu away. He couldn't even clear his mind during his daily meditation. "Your Royal Highness." Phone alerted him from outside the carriage. The Crown Prince didn't reply. After a pause, Phone went on. "Her Majesty doesn't like Miss Wu. I'm afraid she's going to face some very difficult times." June Linyuan snorted. "She's so unruly. She needs a lesson." Phone was speechless. He thought, so be it. "Your Royal Highness, I hope you won't regret it later." Granny Gong hastily arrived at that moment. "Your Royal Highness, help. Her Royal Highness has taken out the medium redness and is going to flog Miss Wu." Granny Gong was worried sick. The medium redness? The large one could kill a person, while the medium one could destroy a person's hands. The stubborn June Linyuan suddenly got to his feet, almost breaking the ceiling of the carriage. He raised the curtain and walked out without another word. Feng rolled his eyes. Despite his stubbornness, the teenager still had to go save his girl in the end. Chapter 1470, Untitled. Chapter 1470, Untitled. June Linyuan's long legs took him to the Empress Dowager's carriage in no time. "Stop!" he yelled furiously. His arrival brought an unbelievable pressure down on everyone's shoulders. His bellows were like a thunderclap, and the entire procession stopped involuntarily. The Empress Dowager almost had a heart attack. Her face went pale as she stared at June Linyuan in astonishment. It took her a while to realize who it was, and only then did she pat her chest and let out a breath of relief. "You brat! You almost frightened me to death." June Linyuan's gaze was on Feng Wu as soon as he walked in. Right now, Feng Wu had been forced to her knees, and the angry and stubborn look in her eyes reminded him of a young beast. Her hair and clothes were disheveled, and there were light finger marks on her face. June Linyuan could imagine what had happened. Someone had tried to slap her, and she failed to dodge completely, hence the marks. This girl, it pained him to see the stubborn look in her eyes. Without another word, June Linyuan walked up to her, bent down, and gave her his hand. The Crown Prince had given Feng Wu his hand. Everyone envied Feng Wu so much. But, to their disbelief, Feng Wu smacked his hand away. She smacked him. Someone actually dared do that to the Crown Prince. No one was more astonished than the Empress Dowager. How dare that girl do such a thing to her Junjun? She wouldn't stand for it. Meanwhile, because the carriages had stopped, everyone turned their attention to this section. Everyone here was sharp-eared, and they all heard the noise from the Empress Dowager's carriage. They were all surprised. Mrs. Zhua and Mrs. Dugu were the most astonished of them all. "Get her out of here and chop her head off," the Empress Dowager yelled angrily. Everyone outside heard that shout. Mrs. Zhua and Mrs. Dugu's carriage was the closest, so they both heard it. They exchanged looks, and both rejoiced over Feng Wu's predicament. Luck was on their side. They didn't even have to do anything, and the Empress Dowager already despised Feng Wu so much. She wanted Feng Wu dead. Hence, the two ladies stopped talking and pricked their ears. And they weren't the only ones. Lady Wang and the other members of the Feng clan were also in shock. Feng Wu had offended the Empress Dowager, which was the worst news. The Feng clan was going to be incriminated. What should they do? However, to their utter surprise, June Linyuan didn't get angry at Feng Wu. Instead, he looked at her in resignation. "Are you an idiot?" June Linyuan jabbed Feng Wu's forehead with one long finger before pulling her to her feet. He then tucked her under his arm and carried her away. Feng Wu was dumbfounded. "Hey, June Linyuan, put me down. Put me down now." Feng Wu hit June Linyuan with her fists. But it simply didn't make a difference. Chapter 1471, Untitled. Chapter 1471, Untitled. Right now, Feng Wu was so angry and frustrated that she wanted to pinch June Linyuan on his waist. And that was what she did. However, his muscles were simply too hard for Feng Wu to make an impact. What a bummer. Frustrated, Feng Wu bit down on June Linyuan's arm. Her teeth almost chipped. It hurt a lot. Tears filled her eyes. Feng Wu kicked and scratched. But June Linyuan, still carried her away. A lot of people had lifted their curtains to see what was going on, and they were all astonished. That was especially the case for the Empress Dowager. Right now, her mind was in such a mess that she could only stare blankly into the air, until she collapsed in her seat. "Your Majesty! Your Majesty!" Granny Lon held the old lady's hand and pressed her philtrum. She cried out anxiously, "Your Majesty, wake up!" The old lady slowly woke up. Her eyes were still unfocused. "June, June, June, June." She was so shocked that she couldn't form a coherent sentence. "His Royal Highness has left. Your Majesty, please calm down. We can talk about it. Don't get angry." Granny Lon comforted her in a low voice. "Ow, how can June June tolerate that girl?" The Empress Dowager's voice shook. Granny Lon said, "Well, he let that girl do all those unruly things." Granny Lon said, "Well, why?" The old lady wouldn't accept the fact and was furious. "After everything I've done to raise my baby, he let that annoying girl kick and punch him. Who the hell does she think she is, huh? She's nothing." Granny Lon tried to calm her down. "Your Majesty, young people have their own way of doing things, so how about we leave it to them to sort out?" "No way." The old lady waved her hand angrily. "That girl has such a seductive face, and it's so obvious that June June is under her spell. That's why he's been indulging her. No, I can't let that girl stay close to the crown prince anymore." Granny Lon didn't know what to say. Somehow, she felt that little Feng Wu was the one getting ordered around here. But she knew that the old lady hated Feng Wu at the moment, so she chose to remain silent. The Empress Dowager fumed for the rest of the journey, and the entire procession was enveloped in an oppressive atmosphere. That was until they reached the outpost. With the Emperor in the convoy, everything had to be elaborate. The outpost acted as a halfway residence for traveling officials and wasn't exactly a comfortable place to stay overnight. Since Emperor Wu was visiting, the place had been cleaned inside out and revamped. Lord Mu was in charge of all the meals and accommodations. While Emperor Wu and his family settled down in the outpost, the rest of his entourage set up tents in the area nearby. The tents were set up around the outpost in perfect order. Emperor Wu, the Empress Dowager, and Jun Linyuan each had a building of their own, but the same couldn't be said for the rest of the convoy. In Jun Linyuan's carriage, Feng Wu had been kicking and biting ever since Jun Linyuan carried her off in front of everyone. She decided that had it not been for this guy, she would never have been threatened by the Empress Dowager and stared at like a circus monkey. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became, and the more she wanted to bite Jun Linyuan. Chapter 1472, Untitled. Chapter 1472, Untitled. But Jun Linyuan's muscles were too hard for her to bite, which only made Feng Wu angrier. She glared at him like an angry squirrel. However, Jun Linyuan only found the frustrated look on her face adorable, and he couldn't help but pinch her little ear. Feng Wu stared at Jun Linyuan in utter disbelief. She was furious, and he actually pinched her ear. And what was with that goofy smile on his face? Feng Wu didn't know what to do. "Jun Linyuan, what on earth do you want?" Instead of answering her, the crown prince threw her over his shoulder and walked out of the carriage. "Hey, Jun Linyuan, put me down, or I'm really going to be mad." Feng Wu blushed. Before, when Jun Linyuan carried her away, there hadn't been many people around. But now, nearly everyone had gotten out of their carriages, and there were people everywhere. How could Jun Linyuan still do this? God knew how embarrassing this was. Moreover, looking up, Feng Wu saw Emperor Wu coming out of his carriage, accompanied by Empress Dugu and concubine Oriole. Emperor Wu saw Jun Linyuan, and his eyes widened in amazement. "What the heck?" Emperor Wu stumbled and almost tripped. "Your Majesty." The chief steward immediately caught Emperor Wu by the arm and steadied him. Emperor Wu drew in his breath. Jun Linyuan, the arrogant, unapproachable Jun Linyuan, was doing such a thing. That just wasn't something he was supposed to do. Am I seeing things? Emperor Wu blinked and opened his eyes wider. But he wasn't mistaken. Jun Linyuan was indeed marching forward with Feng Wu over his shoulder. Stop! Emperor Wu, stop Jun Linyuan. Right now, the atmosphere felt rather strange. Jun Linyuan paused, turned around, and looked at Emperor Wu in bewilderment. Emperor Wu was furious. That brat, what is this? Acting so inappropriately in broad daylight. Emperor Wu stared at Jun Linyuan. Put her down now. However, to Emperor Wu's frustration, Jun Linyuan only gave him an indifferent glance before marching off with Feng Wu over his shoulder. That was a direct order from Emperor Wu, an imperial edict. But Jun Linyuan, he openly disobeyed it. Everyone stared at Jun Linyuan from behind before they glanced at Emperor Wu. Emperor Wu could clearly sense his imperial halo dimming a little at that moment. And Jun Linyuan's prestige rose yet again. Your Majesty, Empress Duga saw it as well, so she tugged at Emperor Wu's sleeve and whispered, His Royal Highness may not realize the impact of his conduct, but this is going to severely challenge your authority, which was very hard to build up. His Royal Highness isn't a child anymore. How can he still be so willful? He's not being willful. He's deliberately weakening my authority, Emperor Wu said resentfully. Empress Dugu was delighted. She was right. There was already a wedge between the father and son, and she had to make good use of the opportunity. Hence, Empress Dugu started making her little speech as she walked alongside Emperor Wu, and only the two of them knew what she said. In the Empress Dowager's room, pressing her fingers to her temples, the old lady rolled around in bed in pain. Chapter 1473, Untitled. Chapter 1473, Untitled. Granny Lawn was worried sick. She asked, Your Majesty, how do you feel? It was already too painful for the Empress Dowager to speak, and she could only grunt in agony. Granny Lawn panicked and ran out of the room. While she sent the palace maids to fetch the imperial physicians, she herself went to report to Emperor Wu. Empress Dugu was listing Jun Linyuan's vices when Emperor Wu heard the noise outside. He immediately frowned. Your Majesty, Your Majesty, Her Majesty the Empress Dowager is coming down with something, and she can't even speak now. Granny Lawn had served the Empress Dowager for many years and was a well-respected figure in the palace. That was why she could see the emperor right away. Hearing this, Emperor Wu rose to his feet and threw a robe over his shoulders as he walked out. What's going on? What's wrong with the Empress Dowager? Emperor Wu asked. Granny Lawn was so anxious that her face was pale. Her Majesty hasn't been feeling well since she got out of the carriage. She threw up once and went to bed without having any dinner. Right now, she's in so much pain that she can't even speak. Emperor Wu was a well-known filial son, and he was running as fast as he could now. He asked anxiously, Where are the imperial physicians? Where are Master Chu and Master Bai? I've sent someone to fetch them. They should be here by now. Granny Lawn didn't sound much calmer herself. After all, this involved the Empress Dowager's health, and it was too big a deal. So, when Emperor Wu arrived, Master Chu and Master Bai were already there. Master Chu. Emperor Wu walked in to see Master Chu opening his eyes as he finished checking the Empress Dowager's pulse. How was Her Majesty? Emperor Wu grabbed Master Chu by the collar. Master Chu looked a little pale, but his voice was relatively calm. Your Majesty, Her Majesty's brain disease is flaring up, which is affecting her entire body. Get to the point. Emperor Wu bellowed. Master Chu said sympathetically, Your Majesty, Her Majesty's condition is very difficult to treat, and I don't have much confidence in myself. How's that even possible? Aren't you the most skilled physician in the palace? How can you say that? Emperor Wu yelled angrily. Master Chu said, Your Majesty, we physicians aren't omnipotent. Emperor Wu said, I don't care. Make sure Her Majesty is all right, or I'll have your head on a plate. Master Chu almost broke down. But Your Majesty, there's only a 10% success rate, and I'm worried that even if I cure her now, she may still suffer from residual symptoms. Emperor Wu snorted. Like I said, I don't care what method you use. I just want Her Majesty to be fine." Master Chu was almost driven mad. The Emperor ignored Master Chu and rushed inside to check on the Empress Dowager. Meanwhile, Master Chu almost pulled all his hair out. Master Bai had remained silent so far, but he suddenly spoke gingerly. Master Chu was too absorbed in his agony to notice. "Master, there's someone who might be able to help us." "Who?" Master Chu frowned. "Miss Feng Wu," Master Bai said solemnly. "Miss Feng Wu is a great doctor, and she cured the Empress Dowager the last time she had a brain condition. So, maybe she'll know what to do this time." Master Chu frowned. "Are you sure?" Master Bai patted his chest and promised, "Miss Feng Wu is definitely a better doctor than the both of us, and I'm sure she'll know how to treat the Empress Dowager." Chapter 1474, Untitled. Chapter 1474, Untitled. "Master Chu, we're running out of ideas here. Miss Feng Wu is our only hope," Master Bai said anxiously. "Her Majesty won't last much longer." Master Chu sighed. "In that case, go ahead." "Yes." Master Bai dashed off after obtaining Master Chu's permission. The building which the Crown Prince was in was a restricted area. However, after Master Bai explained the Empress Dowager's perilous situation, he was soon given permission to enter. Inside, Feng Wu and Jun Linyuan were sitting opposite each other. Feng Wu was in a fit of pique, and the Crown Prince looked equally angry. Neither of them were speaking to each other. That was what Master Bai saw when he walked into the room. To Master Bai's astonishment, Feng Wu, the rumored little maid, was sitting opposite the Crown Prince like his equal. What was more, she was giving the Crown Prince attitude. That was unbelievable. Jun Linyuan stared at Master Bai. Master Bai didn't dare delay, and he immediately got to the point. "Her Majesty the Empress Dowager isn't feeling well. Miss Wu help." Jun Linyuan frowned. He was never an affectionate person, but he still cared about the Empress Dowager. "What happened?" Jun Linyuan asked, his face darkening. Master Bai repeated the diagnosis, then concluded, "Her Majesty was probably upset by what happened earlier today, hence the relapse." Jun Linyuan didn't know what to say. "Miss Feng Wu, please go have a look at the Empress Dowager. Otherwise, Her Majesty may not be able to survive." Jun Linyuan glanced at Feng Wu. Feng Wu didn't want to, because the Empress Dowager hadn't exactly been nice to her, and she wasn't one to hesitate to get revenge. However, beggars couldn't be choosers, and Feng Wu was fully aware of that. If she turned a blind eye to the Empress Dowager, and she really died, the consequences would be very severe. God really liked to play tricks on her. Rubbing her numb temples, Feng Wu rose to her feet and said in resignation, "I'll go with you and have a look." Elated, Master Bai immediately led the way. Feng Wu walked past Jun Linyuan without saying a word. In the Empress Dowager's building, Emperor Wu narrowed his eyes as soon as he saw Feng Wu. Feng Wu had left a good impression on Emperor Wu. However, Jun Linyuan's ambiguous attitude toward Feng Wu made Emperor Wu involuntarily dislike her. Seeing Feng Wu, Master Chu immediately said, "Miss Feng Wu's skills are as good as mine. With her help, we'll have a much better chance of curing Her Majesty." Emperor Wu stared at Feng Wu for a while and eventually nodded. Master Chu was very relieved. But, to Master Chu's surprise, while Emperor Wu gave his permission, the Empress Dowager didn't. "No, I won't let that girl treat me. Get her out of here. Kick her out. I don't want to see her. Go away." The Empress Dowager reacted very violently when she knew that Feng Wu was going to be her doctor. Feng Wu frowned a little. She didn't like treating the Empress Dowager either. She was a supreme-level medicine refiner and was usually respected by everyone. But now the old lady was so rude. Feng Wu said coldly, "Your Majesty, you are indeed having a relapse. Not treating it won't kill you, but it'll do irreparable damage to your brain. It's your decision." Chapter 1475, Untitled. Chapter 1475, Untitled. How dare you curse me? You defiant girl. Take her out and cut her head off. Feng Wu was speechless. She turned around and shrugged at Emperor Wu. It's not that I don't want to treat the Empress Dowager, but Her Majesty won't allow me. Please don't blame me when Her Majesty's condition deteriorates. After that, she ignored the Empress Dowager, who was drained of all color from the pain, and turned to leave. Emperor Wu was dumbfounded. He couldn't imagine that someone could be as bold as his defiant son. Feng Wu, Emperor Wu bellowed. Feng Wu paused and looked at Emperor Wu in resignation. Her Majesty is blessed, and her condition isn't life-threatening for now, but it will get worse, and she'll be in more and more pain. After a pause, Feng Wu added, when that happens, her condition will be so severe that no medicine will work on her, and there's nothing I will be able to do. Emperor Wu was dumbfounded, but he soon realized what she said. Then why are you still leaving? Treat her now. Feng Wu shrugged. Her Majesty won't let me. Emperor Wu's face darkened. Treat her. That's an order. With no other choice, Feng Wu went up to the Empress Dowager and said, Your Majesty, I'm going to treat you. Go away. I would rather die than have you treat me. Get out. The Empress Dowager didn't try to hide her resentment of Feng Wu. Feng Wu looked at Emperor Wu in resignation. The patient is out of control, which will hasten the deterioration. Her Majesty is only going to make herself worse. Emperor Wu was furious, but there was nothing he could do. In the end, Feng Wu left. It was a very difficult night for the Empress Dowager, and she almost passed out from the pain several times. The second day, things only got worse. The old lady couldn't even get up. She kept making incoherent sounds, and one could tell from her pale face and trembling body that she was in extreme pain. Emperor Wu kept giving Master Chu more pressure, but what could Master Chu do? He had to go to Feng Wu repeatedly. Feng Wu came several times, but the Empress Dowager just wouldn't let her. It was the same thing all over again. On the third morning, the Empress Dowager was practically unconscious. She was too dizzy to even open her eyes. She really could die if they didn't do anything. Meanwhile, all the families of the officials had gathered around the Empress Dowager's courtyard and were flustered. It was as if the air had frozen. Is Her Majesty sick? We've only been here for a short while, and Her Majesty is already sick. The winter hunt is going to be suspended. That's not the main consequence, but the possibility that Her Majesty may. Have you heard? Feng Wu was invited inside. What's she doing there? Isn't she supposed to be a good doctor? I think she's here to treat the Empress Dowager. I'm going to laugh. She's just a girl. A good doctor? Give me a break. When the ladies were together, they whispered among themselves, and Feng Wu was the main topic of conversation. Hey, isn't it Lady Wang? Soon, they noticed that Feng Yinfeng's wife was there as well. Lady Wang didn't have anywhere to hide and soon became the center of attention. Mrs. Wu's eyes flickered when she saw Lady Wang, and she smiled. Lady Wang, Feng Wu is the fifth daughter of your clan, isn't she? Chapter 1476, Untitled. Chapter 1476, Untitled. What else could Lady Wang say? She could only smile bitterly and said, She is. Immediately, all the ladies gave Lady Wang strange looks. Mrs. Wu feigned an indifferent tone. Lady Wang, I've been meaning to tell you something for a long time, but I've hesitated to do so. Mrs. Wu, feel free to speak your mind. Lady Wang forced herself to face the questioning looks. Isn't your Feng Wu out of line? Mrs. Wu frowned. Is that how the Feng family raises their daughter? Of course not. Before Lady Wang could reply, Feng Lu said loudly, Mrs. Wu, Feng Wu is a vile and evil person by nature. My family's teachings have nothing to do with it. Lady Wang added, that girl went to northern border city 5 years ago and lived like a wild person out there. It's not a surprise that she became so twisted. Mrs. Wu didn't expect to hear such a reply. She had thought that Lady Wang would be on Feng Wu's side. If that was the case, that made things much easier. Mrs. Wu smiled. Lady Wang, to be honest, Feng Wu's reputation isn't exactly good at the moment. Lady Wang smiled bitterly. Really? Mrs. Wu said that's right. Everyone's been saying that Feng Wu is the crown prince's bed-warming maid, but she's the daughter of the Feng family. How is she ever going to get married? Lady Wang smiled wryly. That's true. I've talked to her about it, but she hesitated before she finished her sentence. This was such a good chance to slander Feng Wu that she didn't want to waste it. At that thought, Lady Wang smiled in resignation and said, that girl wanted to be His Royal Highness's maid, and nothing we said could stop her. What else could we do? Wow, that shocked a lot of the ladies. They thought that Feng Wu stayed with Junlin Yuan because he forced her to, but judging from Lady Wang's tone, the crown prince hadn't forced Feng Wu at all. She was the one who wouldn't leave him alone. Really? Feng Wu offered to be His Royal Highness's maid herself? Mrs. Dugu asked casually. Lady Wang gave him a bitter smile. I shouldn't be saying this, but that girl is so willful and arrogant, and she's constantly giving me headaches. She's fatherless, and her mother is mentally ill. Her uncle and I try to keep her in line, but she's just so impossible. Therefore, we can only let her do whatever she wants. There's nothing we can do, even if we want to. Those words made the other ladies exchange amazed looks. So, Feng Wu had really volunteered to be the crown prince's little maid? She was so infatuated. Immediately, the ladies that had liked Feng Wu before all frowned. They all looked down on a girl without self-respect. I didn't know Feng Wu was like that. I used to think quite highly of her. As it turned out, she was telling everyone that His Royal Highness forced her to stay with him, but being in love with the crown prince isn't all that bad. But only a despicable person would pretend to be all innocent. While the others expressed their disdain toward Feng Wu, Mrs. Wu and Mrs. Dugu exchanged excited looks. Chapter 1477, Untitled. Chapter 1477, Untitled. That was a surprise. Lady Wang was actually on their side. At that thought, they became much nicer to Lady Wang. So much so that other people might take them for real sisters. While they were engaged in excited discussion, the Empress Dowager was getting worse. She was barely conscious and was slipping into a coma. Emperor Wu was so anxious that he didn't stop pacing. He suddenly turned around and stared at Master Chu, who had just come out of the room. How's Her Majesty doing? Speak. Master Chu furrowed his brow and was full of resignation. Your Majesty, Miss Feng Wu predicted everything. What? Emperor Wu stared at Master Chu. Master Chu immediately said, Miss Feng Wu said a few days ago that Her Majesty's condition would get worse, and so would the damage to her brain. Miss Feng Wu was correct about everything, and Her Majesty's condition is very severe now. Your Majesty, Miss Feng Wu is the only one who can treat Her Majesty now. Otherwise, we may lose her. A hush fell over the room. Emperor Wu stared at Master Chu in anger and frustration. Master Chu stressed, Your Majesty, Miss Feng Wu is our only hope now. No one else can save Her Majesty now. Emperor Wu bellowed, Go get her then. Master Chu nodded and quickly left. However, Master Chu arrived at Junlin Yuan's building only to find that Feng Wu wasn't there. For the first time, he panicked. He stared at Granny Gong and said anxiously, What are we going to do now? His Majesty is waiting for her. How could she not be here now? Her Majesty's life was in danger. Granny Gong gave it some thought and said, Miss Feng Wu gave me a letter before she left and told me to give it to you when you came. Master Chu took the letter and quickly opened it. One look, and he was over the moon. He dashed off with the letter. Master Chu ran through the corridor like a gust of wind and rushed into the Empress Dowager's building. Your Majesty, Her Majesty is going to be all right. Master Chu sounded excited when he said, Miss Feng Wu left us this treatment, and I've read it. If we follow these instructions, there's a 70% chance of saving Her Majesty. Where's Feng Wu? Emperor Wu was displeased. The Empress Dowager's life was on the line. Where was she? Well, I heard that she's away. As for where she went, I didn't ask. All of Master Chu's attention was on Feng Wu's letter. Her Majesty is seriously ill with her life hanging in the balance. And Feng Wu thinks she can go out just like that? Damn her! Emperor Wu bellowed. Master Chu raised the letter in his hand. Your Majesty, Miss Feng Wu might think that this letter alone is enough to save Her Majesty. So, the success rate will be more than 70% if she does it herself. She has no respect for Her Majesty or the royal family at all. She was as arrogant as Jun Lin Yuan. The more Emperor Wu thought about it, the angrier he became. He then bellowed, bring Feng Yinfeng here right now. Hence, when Master Chu went to treat the Empress Dowager, Feng Yinfeng was brought in, and he looked completely confused. Your Majesty, Feng Yinfeng bowed as soon as he saw Emperor Wu. Meanwhile, all the people outside the building were murmuring among themselves as well. Why does His Majesty want to see Master Feng so suddenly? Master Feng has always behaved himself. Did something happen? Plus, it was the chief steward, His Majesty's most capable servant, who went to fetch Master Feng. Chapter 1478, Untitled. Chapter 1478, Untitled. Plus, it was the chief steward, His Majesty's most capable servant, who went to fetch Master Feng. The mood felt rather heavy. Master Zhua, Master Dugu, Lord Mu, and many other people were all confused. They all wanted to know what on earth was happening inside. In the building, Feng Yinfeng had only just knelt down when Emperor Wu raised a leg and kicked Feng Yinfeng in the chest. Feng Yinfeng felt a stabbing pain in his chest. Before he knew it, he was flying backward. He flew all the way out of the building. Wow! It happened so suddenly that everyone outside was astonished. What did Master Feng do to offend His Majesty? Master Feng is the Minister of the Ministry of Official Personnel. What unforgivable thing did he do to deserve such humiliation? It seems that we're going to have a new minister. Feng Yinfeng was the most baffled of them all. It never occurred to him that His Majesty would be so angry and so merciless. The moment Feng Yinfeng flew out of the building, Lady Wang ran over to his side, held his thigh, and burst into tears. Master, are you all right? Master, what happened? Master! Feng Yinfeng didn't lose control. He brushed Lady Wang's hand off and scrambled to his feet. He then walked up to Emperor Wu and knelt down. Your Majesty, I don't know what I did to deserve that punishment, but I hold no resentment. But Your Majesty, could you maybe tell me what I did wrong? Emperor Wu stood there with an expressionless face, his eyes as cold as ice. A member of your clan made a mistake, and, as the head of the clan, you have to take the fall. I'm removing you from your office, starting from today. Do you have a problem with that? Emperor Wu didn't say the exact words, but he dropped enough hints. Feng Yinfeng got it after his initial shock and asked, is it because of Feng Wu? Emperor Wu didn't answer that question and only waved his hands. Get out! Once he had taken care of Feng Yinfeng, Emperor Wu crossed his hands behind his back and walked back inside. But he might have left, but the impact was enough to make everyone wonder. Feng Wu, it's all because of her. Lady Wang finally realized what had happened and started yelling at Feng Yinfeng. Master, did you just get dismissed because of Feng Wu? Feng Yinfeng was still processing what had happened. He had just lost his job, and it was because of Feng Wu. At that moment, Feng Yinfeng felt like throttling Feng Wu. Damn her. Damn that girl. Feng Yinfeng almost passed out from rage. People of the Zhua and Dugu families exchanged looks and reveled in his predicament. Sister, that's so hilarious, haha. Mrs. Zhua held Mrs. Dugu's hand and laughed wholeheartedly. Luck really is on our side. I didn't expect Feng Yinfeng to be kicked out so easily. Mrs. Dugu nodded. But why? Mrs. Zhua was confused. What did Feng Yinfeng do to upset His Majesty so much? Or rather, what did Feng Wu do? Because of her relationship with the Empress, Mrs. Dugu had more information. I'll tell only you. Mrs. Dugu told Mrs. Zhua, I heard that Feng Wu could have treated Her Majesty when she got sick, but Feng Wu went off to enjoy herself and abandoned Her Majesty. Chapter 1479, Untitled. Chapter 1479, Untitled. What? Mrs. Wu couldn't believe her ears. How dare that Feng Wu? Mrs. Dugu smirked. That girl thinks she has His Royal Highness's favor, so she's so full of herself now. She's even bold enough to disrespect Her Majesty. Mrs. Wu clicked her tongue. That Feng Wu is so arrogant. I bet His Majesty hates her so much now. Mrs. Dugu nodded. If Her Majesty can't be treated, Feng Wu is going to get the blame. When that happens, no matter how His Royal Highness tries to protect her, she's still going to die. The two ladies weren't the only ones talking about it. Everyone gathered together in twos and threes, worried about the Empress Dowager's illness, while feeling excited over the rumor about the Feng clan. And all they talked about was, if the Empress Dowager died, what kind of situation would Feng Wu be in? Countless people couldn't wait to see Feng Wu in trouble. It just so happened that Feng Wu came back at that moment. She was carrying a basket on her back, and it was filled with branches with dark green leaves that gave off a faint fragrance. Look, Feng Wu is back. It really is her. How dare she come back now? She's so going to die. Feng Lu had been waiting outside the outpost for Feng Wu. As soon as she saw her, she ran toward her at top speed. Feng Wu. Feng Lu's eye spat fire. She glared at Feng Wu, as if trying to burn Feng Wu to ash with the fury in her eyes. Feng Wu frowned a little, glanced at her, and tried to walk around her. However, Feng Lu wouldn't let her leave. Feng Wu, you're too ashamed to see me, aren't you? You can't even meet my eyes. Feng Wu, do you know how outrageous you've been? Feng Wu, I don't care what happens to you, but why would you incriminate the entire Feng clan? Feng Wu, what happened to my father is all your fault. Knowing that she couldn't defeat Feng Wu, Feng Lu could only follow her, as she complained. But Feng Wu couldn't even be bothered to look at her. Until, Feng Wu, a cold voice rang out behind them. Feng Wu narrowed her eyes and turned around. It was indeed Feng Iran. Come with me. Feng Iran led her away. Father has been removed from his office because of you, and he's been badly injured. Don't you feel guilty at all? Feng Yanfeng. Feng Wu thought about her fence-sitting uncle. She had no affection for that uncle, but Feng Yanfeng could still be a useful pawn in the future, so she knew that she should visit him. Lead the way, Feng Wu said coldly. The Feng clan was no longer one of the 9 major families, and they weren't ranked very high either. Therefore, their living quarters were quite far from the center. Feng Yanfeng was sulking when Feng Wu arrived. Father, Feng Wu is here. Feng Iran led Feng Wu to Feng Yanfeng. Feng Yanfeng felt a pang in his chest. Feng Wu, she was the reason behind everything. At that thought, Feng Yanfeng stared at Feng Wu in disbelief, and his gaze reminded her of icy blades. Chapter 1480, Untitled. Chapter 1480, Untitled. How dare you come here? Feng Yanfeng threw the bowl of medicine in his hand directly at Feng Wu's face. The thick liquid in the bowl arced through the air as it flew at Feng Wu. Luckily, she reacted in time and immediately stepped aside to dodge the bowl and the liquid. Thump! The bowl broke into pieces on the floor with a crisp sound. Feng Yanfeng was even more furious when he saw Feng Wu move away. How dare you? Feng Wu, how dare you? Feng Yanfeng sprang up from his bed and asked, Tell me, what on earth did you do? Feng Wu frowned and looked confused. What do you mean? Quit pretending. Cough. Feng Yanfeng was shaking from head to toe. If you haven't done something to offend His Majesty, why would he blame it on me? You're the one who got me in trouble. Don't you realize that? Feng Wu was speechless. Feng Yanfeng stared at Feng Wu. Speak. What on earth did you do? Feng Wu shrugged and looked all innocent. I didn't do anything. As for why His Majesty is mad at you, how about you go ask him yourself? Just then, she heard light footsteps nearby. Steward Feng quickly came in and whispered something in Feng Yanfeng's ear before he backed away. Feng Yanfeng was completely astounded by the news. He looked at Feng Wu as if she was an idiot. You? Feng Wu still looked very innocent. What? Feng, Yin Feng couldn't stop trembling. When he pointed at Feng Wu, his finger trembled as well, which showed how astonished he was. You could have saved Her Majesty, but you didn't. Feng Wu, you turned away from the Empress Dowager. Yin Feng wanted to kill Feng Wu right there and then. She would have been generously rewarded if she had saved the Empress Dowager, and the entire Feng clan could have risen because of it. The crime for not helping the Empress Dowager was so severe that the entire Feng clan could be killed for it. How could you do that? Yin Feng was so agitated that he couldn't form a coherent sentence, and he glared at Feng Wu. We can overlook the generous reward, but we can't possibly survive the punishment. Feng Wu, you're taking the entire clan down with you. Yin Feng's eyes were bloodshot, and blue veins popped on his forehead. He was so agitated, and when he said those words, he wasn't the only one agitated. OMG, Feng Wu has. Feng Wu, how dare you? Lady Wang, Yin Feng, Feng Sang, and Feng Lu all stood there in astonishment. Their heads went blank, and they all trembled violently. Feng Wu left the Empress Dowager when the latter was severely ill. That was enough to have the entire Feng clan killed. Feng Wu, I'm going to kill you. Feng Wu, how dare you? Feng Wu, go to hell. Lady Wang trembled violently, and her heart raced. She rushed over to Yin Feng and yelled, Master, Master, our clan can't keep this girl anymore. We want to know how to teach her. Master, after what she did to you, do you want to see the same thing happen to our children? Yin Feng was so exasperated and shocked that he spat out a mouthful of blood. Cough, cough. After his coughing fit, Yin Feng looked up, and his eyes were bloodshot red. Chapter 1481, Untitled. Chapter 1481, Untitled. Feng Wu, go to hell. His voice was so loud that it was like a thunderclap in the ears of the others. Wow. People were already talking about what was going on with the Feng clan, and they were even more curious now. Lord Mu was in charge, and he quickly headed over. Since Lord Mu was here, so were Master Zhua and Master Degu. All three were people Yin Feng had tried to befriend recently, but he wasn't happy to see them now. Lord Mu couldn't care less. He told Yin Feng when he arrived, Old Feng, let's talk like civilized people. Shouting won't solve anything. Master Zhua glanced at Feng Wu and smiled at Yin Feng. Feng Wu is only a kid now, and she needs more guidance. Don't rush it. Yin Feng almost choked on his own breath. That brat. Yin Feng almost couldn't breathe. The Empress Dowager's life is hanging in the balance, but she went off to have fun. She's trying to ruin our clan. I won't have it. Yin Feng struggled to his feet and grabbed Lord Mu's hand. My lord, you and the other officials are going to be my witnesses today. I'm going to make an announcement as the head of the Feng clan. Yin Feng glared at Feng Wu and stressed each word. From now on, Feng Wu isn't a member of the Feng clan anymore. What? That announcement was unexpected, but predictable at the same time. Old Feng, Lord Mu said calmly, let's talk it over. I'm sure we can solve this. Removing her name from the clan is such a big deal that you have to be sure. Lady Wang and the others looked expectantly at Yin Feng. They had waited for this day for so long. Both Master Zhua and Master Degu tried to make Yin Feng reconsider his decision. However, Yin Feng shook his head decisively. No, I've given enough thought already. Feng Wu has to be kicked out today. Master Zhua shook his head and sighed. He then shot a warning glance at Feng Wu. Kiddo, what are you doing just standing there? Do you really want to get your name removed from the clan and become a lonely soul with no one to depend on? You should be pleading with your uncle right now. To have one's name removed from their clan was such a big deal that everyone was convinced that Feng Wu would panic, but Feng Wu just stood there with the sunlight behind her. The look on her face was very calm, and she was completely unperturbed. She smiled a little and asked quietly, Are you going to remove my name from the clan? All eyes were on her. Feng Wu smirked. Do you think you can do that just because you want to? What? Everyone's stomachs lurched. That was so arrogant. Feng Wu, I'm your uncle and the head of the clan. I have the right. The head of the clan? For now. You don't know what will happen in the future. Feng Wu smirked. Feng Yinfeng wanted to say something else, but Feng Wu waved him off. We'll talk about it later. We'll see who gets kicked out in the end. Feng Wu sounded impatient. I don't have time for this. Wait until I'm not busy. She left after those words. Just like that. Everyone watched in disbelief as she walked away. Chapter 1482, Untitled. Chapter 1482, Untitled. That wasn't what they were expecting. It shouldn't have played out like that. Take her down. Bring that brat to me. Feng Yinfeng bellowed, feeling that his authority had been severely challenged. However, no one moved. Feng Iran and Feng Lu weren't Feng Wu's match. Master Zhua and the others would only play the happy onlookers and wouldn't offer any help. Feng Yinfeng didn't know what to do. He was the only one who could handle Feng Wu now. At that thought, he pounced at Feng Wu like a hungry wolf. He decided that he would regain his lost dignity himself. Crack! Feng Yinfeng grabbed Feng Wu's shoulder from behind. However, he immediately felt a stabbing pain in his fingers, as if he had been hit by some invincible power. Whoosh! Feng Yinfeng involuntarily drew back his hand and stared at Feng Wu in astonishment. What are you wearing? There was a line of needle marks on Feng Yinfeng's palm. Feng Wu narrowed her eyes. She was wearing a simple vest, which Jun Linyuan had put on her when she was asleep. She wanted to take it off and throw it away, but Jun Linyuan wouldn't let her no matter what. Who would have thought that the soft vest would be so useful? Feng Wu sneered at Feng Yinfeng and turned to leave. That brat! Feeling utterly humiliated, Feng Yinfeng thought he was going to explode. Lord Mu and the others felt embarrassed for Feng Yinfeng as well. As the head of the Feng clan, he tried to remove Feng Wu from the clan, but humiliated himself instead. Masters was very disappointed in Feng Yinfeng as well. Word of Feng Yinfeng trying to remove Feng Wu from the clan soon got out. With so many people staying in the small outpost, they all gathered in small groups, and the news spread very quickly. What? The Feng clan is going to kick Feng Wu out. But why? Why do you think? I heard that Master Feng was removed from his post because of Feng Wu. Has she been kicked out already? I don't think so. Why? Don't you see? His Royal Highness is behind Feng Wu. He takes her with him everywhere, which is why she's so arrogant. Even if Master Feng wants to kick her out, he still has to consider the Crown Prince's feelings. That Feng Wu is so. Feng Wu went straight back to her building after she left the Feng clan. She hadn't gone out to stroll about, but to pick some herbs. The Empress Dowager had been sick for so long that Feng Wu had to use a herb known as dragonwood fiber. However, it wasn't a common herb and could be quite difficult to find. Feng Wu left very early that morning, and with her pet's help, she finally found one. After washing the dragon with fiber clean, Feng Wu deftly prepared it. She was familiar with the process, so in less than an hour, the dragonwood fiber had been turned into a small pile of black powder. She then poured the powder into a small porcelain vial. The vial was the size of a pinky and just big enough for the dragonwood fiber powder. Feng Wu handed the vial to Granny Gong. Take this to Master Chu. With how smart Granny Gong was, she immediately saw that it was a life-saving ingredient for the Empress Dowager. Feng Wu said, boil 3 bowls of water until only 1 bowl is left, then pour the dragonwood fiber powder in. It can't be more than the size of a fingernail, but don't put in too little either. Chapter 1483, Untitled. Chapter 1483, Untitled. Granny Gong nodded, but she couldn't help prodding Feng Wu. Miss Wu, why don't you take it to Her Majesty yourself? Feng Wu said coldly. That's not necessary. Granny Gong, just go ahead. The Empress Dowager had been so mean to Feng Wu, so she had no reason to go near the old lady. She wasn't a masochist. As for improving her image with the Empress Dowager, Feng Wu didn't see any point in doing that. Granny Gong smiled bitterly. The Empress Dowager was indeed inclined to be hostile toward Feng Wu, and their relationship would only worsen if they saw each other now. It would be better that they stayed away from each other. Granny Gong quickly headed back to the Empress Dowager with the dragon with fiber powder. Meanwhile, Master Chu was very anxious. Sweat was rolling down his forehead. He was facing a very critical situation. He thought that there was a 70% chance of success, but once he cut the Empress Dowager open, that hope disappeared. What should he do? Looking at the cut he made in the Empress Dowager's head, Master Chu felt a chill run down his spine, and his hands turned cold. Master Chu? Doctor? Master Bai was Master Chu's assistant, and he lost most hope when he saw the blood gushing out of the Empress Dowager's forehead. When he noticed Master Chu's pale face, Master Bai almost passed out. Master Chu waved his hand and blinked hard. He told himself not to panic and to calm down. He had experienced quite a few critical moments in his life and had narrowly escaped death a few times, but he had survived them all, hadn't he? Wait, Feng Wu. The idea struck Master Chu, and he told Master Bai to fetch Feng Wu immediately. Emperor Wu grabbed Master Bai as soon as he left the room. How'd it go? How's the Empress Dowager? Emperor Wu wasn't the only one waiting outside. The entire royal family was there. There were Empress Dugu, concubine Oriole, the third and fifth princesses, and the princes. Everyone looked anxiously at Master Bai. Master Bai was almost in tears and said loudly, "Her Majesty is in critical condition right now, and her life is hanging in the balance. I have to find Miss Feng Wu now. She's our only hope." Feng Wu was their only hope. Empress Dugu had a complicated feeling in her heart. If Feng Wu didn't come and the Empress Dowager died, it would be the best news for her. Just then, Granny Gong came into view. Miss Feng Wu. As soon as Master Bai spoke, Granny Gong shook her head and said, "Miss Wu isn't here, but she had me bring the medicine. Here's some dragon with fiber powder, which is good for stopping the bleeding. To use it." After calmly repeating the instructions, Granny Gong handed over the bottle containing the powder. Master Bai's eyes lit up. He took the bottle with both hands and ran back inside without so much as a thank you. Right now, everyone was concerned about the Empress Dowager, but one or two individuals still wanted to stir up trouble. Is this dragon with fiber powder freshly made? Jun Wuxia, the third princess, stared at Granny Gong. Granny Gong said, "Yes." Jun Wuxia asked, "Granny Gong, did you meet Feng Wu just then?" Granny Gong said, "Yes." Jun Wuxia said, "So, she's here in the outpost?" Granny Gong said, "Yes." Jun Wuxia stared at Granny Gong with her cold eyes. If that's the case, why won't Feng Wu come here and treat the Empress Dowager herself? Immediately, everyone gave Granny Gong strange looks. That was right. Why? Chapter 1484, Untitled. Chapter 1484, Untitled. The fifth princess said, "I heard that Her Majesty wouldn't let Feng Wu treat her." Jun Wuxiao waved her off. Her Majesty can dislike Feng Wu as much as she wants, but Feng Wu has a duty to treat Her Majesty. Since she sent the dragon with fiber powder, she has to know that Her Majesty is in critical condition. Why won't she come here when Her Majesty's life is hanging in the balance? What hidden agenda does Feng Wu have? Empress Dugu had raised Jun Wuxia into a spoiled princess. She had always been willful and reckless, so why would she suddenly become so sensible and methodical? Granny Gong kept her gaze on the princess and realized that someone had to be helping her out. She looked from Jun Wuxia to a maid standing next to her. The maid was called Yulian. Yulian's stomach lurched when she saw the look in Granny Gong's eyes. "Granny Gong, don't you want to explain on Feng Wu's behalf? If not, should we conclude that Feng Wu is disrespecting Her Majesty?" Jun Wuxia smiled at Granny Gong. Having served in the Imperial Palace for so many years, Granny Gong was too experienced to be intimidated by Jun Wuxia. She said calmly, "Miss Wu indeed knows how critical Her Majesty's condition is. She knew that 3 days ago." Wow! All eyes were on Granny Gong, and everyone was shocked by that bold statement. Granny Gong went on, Miss Wu also knew that Her Majesty would need the dragon with fiber powder today, so she went out with a basket before sunrise this morning on her own and went into the mountains. She searched throughout the day until the moon rose, when she finally found a dragon with fiber plant. She then brought it back and turned it into a powder. After a pause, Granny Gong added, Miss Wu knows that Her Majesty doesn't like her, so to avoid agitating Her Majesty and exacerbating her condition, Miss Wu gave up this great opportunity to show off her contribution. Looking around, Granny Gong said, If you don't believe me, just wait and see. If Master Chu can save Her Majesty with the dragon with fiber powder, you'll know I'm telling the truth and how sincere Miss Feng Wu is. That was an impressive speech. Not only did Granny Gong sabotage the trap Jun Wuxia had set, she also made Feng Wu out to be someone who wasn't eager to claim credit. Jun Wuxia clenched her fists angrily and glared at Granny Gong. Granny Gong wasn't intimidated at all and only smiled back at her. The atmosphere felt rather strange. Just then, the closed door finally opened. Master Chu and Master Bai came out, supporting each other. How did it go? Emperor Wu was the first to react, and he grabbed Master Chu's arm. Master Chu looked like someone who had just escaped death. He breathed out slowly, and there was a faint smile on his face. He said, It was very dangerous at first, and we almost didn't succeed. Luckily, Miss Feng Wu's dragon with fiber powder arrived in time. Otherwise, the consequence would have been unthinkable. Master Bai shook his head as well. Her Majesty wouldn't stop bleeding. Without the powder, she wouldn't have made it. She would have died. Everyone knew what Master Bai meant. That was why they were so shocked. Is that dragon with fiber powder so miraculous? Emperor Wu cried out. Master Chu said, A medicine is the most valuable when it's used correctly. Miss Feng Wu is a genius in this respect. I would never have thought about this medicine myself. Chapter 1485, Untitled. Chapter 1485, Untitled. Master Bai couldn't stop praising Feng Wu either. Miss Feng Wu's medical skills are impeccable. With one look, she knows all the steps to be taken. She's more than talented. She's the greatest genius ever. Master Chu and Master Bai showered Feng Wu with compliments and wouldn't stop talking, which annoyed many others, especially Jun Wuxia, who had gone pale with rage. Seeing that the Empress Dowager was out of danger, Granny Gong left the crowd. Emperor Wu was the one at a loss now. Late that night, Emperor Wu and Empress Dugu sat on the bed. Seeing the big frown on Emperor Wu's face, Empress Dugu held his hand. Emperor Wu's grip was forceful. Empress Dugu caressed Emperor Wu's face gently and said softly, Your Majesty, are you worried about Her Majesty? Didn't Master Chu say that Her Majesty is no longer in danger now? She'll be fine once she wakes up tomorrow morning. Emperor Wu smiled bitterly. I'm not worried about Her Majesty. I just don't know. Empress Dugu asked, Yes. Emperor Wu rubbed his forehead. He had been too impulsive today and had embarrassed himself. With how smart Empress Dugu was, she immediately guessed what it was about, so she asked with a smile, Your Majesty, is it about Feng Yanfeng? Emperor Wu heaved a long sigh and nodded. He didn't need to hide it from his Zidong. Caressing Emperor Wu's hand, Empress Dugu smiled. Your Majesty, why don't you give Feng Yanfeng his job back? Emperor Wu rubbed his forehead. Won't that make me look indecisive? Empress Dugu hesitated before asking, Your Majesty, what do you have in mind? Emperor Wu asked, How about I make Feng Wu a lord? What do you think? Deep down, Empress Dugu was displeased. She's already a princess. Does becoming a lord really suit her? Your Majesty, how about you give her something she can actually use? Emperor Wu asked, such as, to stop Feng Wu from getting another title, Empress Dugu became quite generous. I heard that Feng Yanfeng tried to expel Feng Wu from the clan. Although he didn't get to do it in the end, that still gives us a hint. Where will Feng Wu live if she really is kicked out of her clan? Asked Emperor Wu. If I remember correctly, isn't there a manor on Dongyuan Street? Your Majesty, how about you give the place to her? Empress Dugu was in fact very reluctant. She had had her eye on that manor on Donyuan Street for a while, and had wanted to give it to her nephew. Compared with promoting Feng Wu, however, the manor was nothing. The manor has been deserted for many years, and it used to be General Wei Wu's residence. I certainly can give it to her. In fact, although Feng Wu had indirectly saved the Empress Dowager, Emperor Wu still didn't like Feng Wu very much. That was because he deemed Feng Wu to be the same type of person as Jun Lin Yuan, who was aloof, arrogant, and had no consideration for other people. The chief steward went to deliver the Imperial edict himself. Because Feng Wu was a member of the Feng clan, the Imperial edict naturally was taken to the Feng family's tent. "Father, there's an Imperial edict for Feng Wu." Feng Yiran immediately told Feng Yinfeng the news. Feng Yinfeng struggled out of bed. The chief steward just happened to walk in, and Feng Yinfeng saluted him. As the general steward for the entire Imperial palace, the chief steward was a respected figure. Wherever he went, people would try to fawn on him. Chapter 1486, Untitled. Chapter 1486, Untitled. Even Feng Yinfeng had to greet the chief steward with a bow. The chief steward was a fair, chubby, elderly man with a Buddha-like smile, which made him seem very approachable. He smiled at Feng Yinfeng and said, "Master Feng, you're too polite. Now, I have an Imperial edict for Miss Feng Wu. Please bring her out here to hear it." Feng Yinfeng paled when he heard this. Because of Feng Wu, he lost his job yesterday. He felt he had nothing left now. That just showed how much His Majesty didn't like Feng Wu. And now, there was an Imperial edict, and it was directed at Feng Wu alone. It didn't take a genius to figure out how terrifying the Imperial edict would be. It couldn't possibly be anything good. At that thought, Feng Yinfeng finally summoned up his courage and smiled bitterly. "Sir, you've come a little too late. I'm terribly sorry." "Really?" The chief steward raised his eyebrows. Feng Yinfeng said, "Starting from yesterday, Feng Wu has been expelled from the Feng clan. That is to say, after that, whatever she does has nothing to do with the clan." Lady Wang, Feng Yiran, and the others immediately chimed in. That's right. They decided that they were done paying for Feng Wu's mistakes. The chief steward frowned a little. "Do you mean it?" Feng Yinfeng nodded repeatedly. "Yes. Yes, of course. Feng Wu has nothing to do with the Feng clan now. So any of her punishments or rewards will have nothing to do with our clan." "Well," the chief steward heaved a long sigh. "Master Feng, are you sure? I hope you won't regret it." Feng Yinfeng smiled bitterly. "Of course I won't. The decision was made yesterday." The chief steward nodded. "Even if that's the case, because this is an Imperial edict, the edict table has to sit here, and Miss Feng has to come out here as well." Feng Yinfeng had no problem with that. Even if the Imperial edict was about Feng Wu's punishment, his family wasn't going to be involved anymore. Feng Wu was meditating when she was disturbed by the noise outside. Granny Gong told her about the Imperial edict. Feng Wu frowned a little. "Can't he come here?" Granny Gong smiled. "He can, according to regular practice." However, the chief steward insisted on having the edict table set there. "I'm sure he has a reason for it." She then added, "The chief steward really likes His Royal Highness, so don't worry. He won't trick us. I'm sure he knows what he's doing." Feng Wu shrugged. "Let's go and have a look then." Deep down, she already had a faint idea. After all, she had saved the Empress Dowager, so the Emperor was bound to give her some reward, even if it was just for show. Unfortunately, only a handful of people knew that she had saved the Empress Dowager, and that didn't include Feng Yinfeng and his people. In the Feng clan's camp, as soon as Feng Wu arrived, Feng Yinfeng's family stared at her with eyes filled with hatred. It was especially the case with Feng Lu, and she didn't try to hide her hatred toward Feng Wu. Feng Wu shrugged. "Feng Wu, how dare you come here?" Feng Lu growled in Feng Wu's ear. Feng Wu asked casually, "Why wouldn't I dare?" Feng Lu asked, "Did you know that my father lost his job because of you?" Feng Wu smirked. "Why don't you ask your father how he got that minister job in the first place?" She had pulled some strings, and Feng Yinfeng still owed her 100,000 spiritual stones for it. Feng Lu said, "Are you suggesting it had something to do with you?" Chapter 1487, Untitled. Chapter 1487, Untitled. Feng Wu asked, "What if I told you that I was the one who got him that job?" Feng Lu said, "That's the funniest joke I've ever heard." Feng Wu shrugged. "Laugh all you want, then." She turned to look at Feng Yinfeng as she spoke. "Other people may not know, but uncle, surely you should know better. Do you need me to take out that I owe you?" You furious, Feng Yinfeng went pale. He didn't expect the girl to be so difficult. He then turned to the chief steward. "Since Feng Wu is already here, I believe we can hear the Imperial edict now. Just get it over with and let Feng Wu be on her way," thought Feng Yinfeng angrily. However, the chief steward reminded him in an unhurried tone, "Master Feng, did you say that Feng Wu's name has been removed from your clan?" "Yes." "No." Feng Yinfeng and Feng Wu gave different answers. "Is she still a member of the clan or not?" the chief steward asked. "No," said Feng Yinfeng. "Yes," said Feng Wu. Once again, Feng Yinfeng and Feng Wu didn't agree with each other. The chief steward rubbed his forehead. "An individual's fate is connected to their clan. Who should I read this imperial edict to? The clan or Feng Wu? I can't read it if you keep disagreeing with each other." "Read it to her. Read it to her." Feng Yinfeng answered agitatedly. "Her name may still be listed in our clan, but she really can't stay here anymore. Be it reward or punishment, Feng Wu can have it all." "Are you sure?" The chief steward narrowed his eyes. "Yes, I'm positive," Feng Yinfeng said excitedly. "The imperial edict belongs to Feng Wu herself. She can have all the rewards or punishments. We don't want her good fortune, and we don't want to be incriminated by her either." Lady Wang nodded. "That's right. We don't want her rewards or to be incriminated." The rest of them all nodded. Meanwhile, because everyone was standing in front of the Feng clan's tent, they soon attracted a lot of attention. The Zhua, Dugu, Feng, and Xin families, and many others, had gathered around as onlookers. Lady Wang told Mrs. Zhua and the others, "Please be our witnesses. Feng Wu has nothing to do with the Feng clan, and she will soon be removed from this clan. She'll take full responsibility for her own mistakes, and we won't take credit for her good fortune." "Nicely said, Lady Wang. Master Feng was so miserable yesterday. If he's incriminated again, he may lose his life. This Feng Wu brings trouble to everyone around her. The Feng family has made a wise decision." After much discussion, the chief steward finally started reading the imperial edict. Feng Yinfeng was dumbfounded as soon as he heard the first sentence. "In reward for her efforts in saving the Empress Dowager, Feng Wu will receive a pair of jade ruby ornaments, a golden room, a manor situated at number 2, 3rd Alley, Donyuan Avenue, and Feng Wu was rewarded for saving the Empress Dowager." Many people felt their heads spin when they heard it. They didn't know what to think. Didn't the rumor yesterday say that Feng Wu didn't go to treat the Empress Dowager, which was why Feng Yinfeng was fired? It now seemed that that wasn't the case. Feng Yinfeng's eyes almost popped out when he heard the manor address. That manor was General Wei Wu's former residence. The location was wonderful, and the place was huge. It was the envy of many people. Chapter 1488, Untitled. Chapter 1488, Untitled. Even Master Zhua and Master Dugu were surprised, to say nothing of Feng Yinfeng. It was especially the case with Master Dugu, who had had his eye on a manor for a long while, but Feng Wu somehow ended up taking it. The chief steward still hadn't finished reading the imperial edict. The emperor bestowed a traveling tent on Feng Wu, and a Fergana horse, and a divine bow, and all of them were great honors and could be very useful when they arrived at the Senal grassland. They were all status symbols. The Feng clan was surrounded by a lot of people, and everyone looked at Feng Wu in disbelief. Before today, they had all been criticizing Feng Wu and found her annoying because she had lost His Majesty's favor. but it had only taken Feng Wu a day to get her status back. Feng Yinfeng was so distressed that he thought his eyes were going to fall out. He looked at Feng Wu in disbelief before turning to the chief steward with an expectant look. If His Majesty had rewarded Feng Wu so generously, did that mean that he could get his job back? However, Feng Yinfeng waited and waited, but didn't hear the words he was hoping for even when the chief steward finished reading the edict. He panicked. Sir, Feng Yinfeng stopped the chief steward, who had rolled up the Imperial edict and was ready to leave, and asked, "Is that all?" "Not really." Seeing the eager look in Feng Yinfeng's eyes, the chief steward chuckled. "It's just that, since you yourself said that Feng Wu can have all the rewards and punishments to herself, there's no need to read the part that was meant for you." "What?" Feng Yinfeng paled and was dumbfounded. For some reason, the chief steward unfolded a section of the Imperial edict and let Feng Yinfeng take a peek before putting it away. Feng Yinfeng was speechless. He really was going to faint. There was indeed a reward for him in the Imperial edict. Although it wasn't a ministerial position, it was good enough. It was a post as a second-ranked commanding officer at a border city. It was a job that would make a lot of people envious. Feng Yinfeng thought he was going to lose his mind. The chief steward even reminded Feng Yinfeng on his way out, "I'm going to put this second-ranked post for you on hold, Master Feng." Feng Yinfeng was still feeling dumbfounded even when the chief steward left. A second-ranked official located in a border city? That position was second only to Northern Feng General. The Junwu Empire valued martial virtues more than civil ones, so that job was almost as good as the Minister of the Ministry of Official Personnel. However, he had just lost such a wonderful opportunity. Feng Yinfeng had never regretted a decision so much. The chief steward didn't lower his voice when he said that, so everyone heard it. Right now, they were all giving Feng Yinfeng strange looks. They could still hear Feng Yinfeng in their ears, declaring that Feng Wu had nothing to do with the Feng clan, and that she could have all the rewards and punishments to herself. That was so frustrating. Feng Wu couldn't care less about Feng Yinfeng's feelings, and she left after taking the Imperial edict. Feng Yinfeng wanted to say something to Feng Wu, but he hesitated. The chief steward couldn't be any more obvious with his hint. If Feng Yinfeng still wanted that job, Feng Wu was the key. While Feng Yinfeng's family was feeling distressed, Feng Wu felt very relieved. Perhaps Feng Wu's medicine was too potent, but the Empress Dowager had already woken up. Chapter 1489, Untitled. Chapter 1489, Untitled. If it were up to Emperor Wu, he would send the Empress Dowager back already. After all, it would take at least another 10 days for them to reach the Senile grassland, and the Empress Dowager wouldn't be able to handle the journey. However, the Empress Dowager wouldn't listen. She insisted that she had to go to the Senile grassland. When the old lady acted out, there was nothing Emperor Wu could do. With no other choice, Emperor Wu had to summon Feng Wu for a discussion. Feng Wu frowned. The best option right now is for Her Majesty to go back to the palace and get some rest. This is a very big deal. Emperor Wu rubbed his forehead. That's what I thought, but the Empress Dowager is bent on going to the grassland, and I can't stop her. Feng Wu gave Emperor Wu a resigned look. Of course he could stop her. He just couldn't bring himself to do so. If Her Majesty insists on going to the Senile grassland, then we'll have to worry about a lot of things for the next few days. There are so many aspects we'll have to be cautious about, both in relation to her diet and her daily life, Feng Wu said with a frown. Emperor Wu gave a wave of his hand. In that case, why don't you look after Her Majesty yourself? Feng Wu looked at Emperor Wu in resignation. Your Majesty, are you sure that Her Majesty won't flare up when she sees me and rip open all her stitches? Emperor Wu said. Well, Feng Wu said, but I'll write down some do's and don'ts so that Granny Lan can pay more attention when she's looking after Her Majesty. Along with my specially made pills, the wound will close up in 3 days. Everything should be fine then. That's great. Glad to hear that. Emperor Wu was elated. The Empress Dowager walked out from the inner room, supported by Granny Lan. Right now, A white bandage was wrapped around the Empress Dowager's head, and she had a very pale face. However, she couldn't look any more arrogant. As soon as she came out and spotted Feng Wu, she frowned. This time, she simply ignored Feng Wu and walked haughtily past her. "Your Majesty," the Empress Dowager greeted Emperor Wu. Emperor Wu immediately went up to her. "Mother, Master Chu was the one who had saved me from danger, wasn't he?" The Empress Dowager greeted Master Chu in a benevolent manner. Master Chu glanced at Feng Wu. He knew that Feng Wu was the only reason that the old lady was able to sit here safely. She would have been dead by now. At that thought, Master Chu stepped out and said, "Your Majesty, actually, the chief doctor who helped you was... ahem." At that critical moment, Emperor Wu cleared his throat and cut Master Chu off. Master Chu gave Emperor Wu a confused look. Emperor Wu stared at him. Master Chu immediately took the hint. However, he did feel guilty for taking the credit. Hence, Master Chu looked back at Feng Wu. Feng Wu also nodded at Master Chu. That was to say, she agreed as well. Only then did Master Chu smile bitterly and said, "Actually, I did make a small contribution this time, but it was mostly thanks to your Majesty's own strength and God's blessing." The Empress Dowager was happy to hear that, and she smiled. "I know I'm blessed, but your treatment was still necessary. I should thank you for that." She then glanced at Feng Wu before turning back to Master Chu. "I value you because, unlike someone else, you don't think that I can't live without you." Everyone else around them fell silent. They all lowered their heads and didn't dare to look the Empress Dowager in the eye. Chapter 1490, Untitled. Chapter 1490, Untitled. As a matter of fact, the Empress Dowager really needed Feng Wu. Had it not been for her, the old lady would be in her grave now. Lady Northern Feng was also there, and she ranted the most in her head. However, since His Majesty had spoken, there was nothing she could say. The Empress Dowager threw a proud glance at Feng Wu and told Master Chu, "I also like you because you don't try to take credit for other people's work, and you're not proud either, unlike someone. They act as if they call the shots around here when they didn't do a thing." Master Chu looked embarrassed. He wondered if the Empress Dowager had said that on purpose, because that description sounded just like him. Master Chu felt like crying, because he was just an honest man. "Your Majesty, we were only able to save you because..." Ahem. Several people cleared their throats. Even Feng Wu shook her head at Master Chu. Master Chu was speechless. Her Majesty's wound has yet to close, she reminded him in an indifferent tone. She meant that if Her Majesty knew who her real lifesaver was, she might be so angry that her wound would burst open. Master Chu understood that, so he had no choice but to take the credit. The Empress Dowager glanced at Feng Wu and snorted. "What do you know about my wound? As if you were the one who treated me." Feng Wu cleared her throat again. The Empress Dowager frowned. "Why are you coughing all the time? Are you sick? If you infect Jun with your coughing, I'll kill you." Feng Wu was speechless. She wanted to explain when the Empress Dowager waved her off. "That's enough. I don't want to listen to you, nor do I want to see your face. Go away now." The Empress Dowager was very blunt. Empress Dugu, Jun Wuxia, and their lot were very happy to hear it, and they were thrilled to hear Feng Wu's predicament. The Northern Feng general, on the other hand, wanted to defend Feng Wu against the injustice. Feng Wu was the one who had saved the Empress Dowager, but not only didn't she get a thank you, she was scolded and taunted. How frustrating. To Lady Northern Feng's relief, after what the girl was put through, she remained unperturbed and level-headed. What magnanimous young lady. Feng Wu didn't plan to stick around to be insulted, so she excused herself. The winter hunt was supposed to be canceled, but since the Empress Dowager insisted on going, the journey resumed. "We're still going." All the clan heads and their families were confused. They couldn't understand why the Empress Dowager still wanted to go to the senile grassland in her current condition. Exactly what was so special about the place that the Empress Dowager just had to go there? Granny Lon had asked the Empress Dowager that question before, but she wouldn't tell even Granny Lon. For the next part of the journey, Feng Wu still stayed with Jun Lin Yuan as his maid. Jun Lin Yuan was a very fussy guy. He was extremely picky about his food. Ever since Feng Wu made the fish-flavored shredded pork with rice the other day, he had to eat what Feng Wu cooked for every single meal. Luckily, Feng Wu was already a good cook, so she was able to cook Jun Lin Yuan different delicious dishes every time. There were so many ingredients she could find in the mountains that she didn't have to cook the same dish for nearly 2 weeks. One night, they camped on the bank of Yueshi Lake. As soon as they got out of their carriage, Jun Lin Yuan saw the lake, and he told Feng Wu that he wanted roast fish. Chapter 1491. Chapter 1491, Untitled. Roast Fish. Feng Wu stared at Jun Lin Yuan. My dear Crown Prince, we're out in the wilderness. Can you settle for something simpler? Feng Wu still had to cultivate, and she was very busy. But of course, Jun Lin Yuan wouldn't let her go. He gave Feng Wu a proud look, crossed his hands behind his back, and marched off. What choice did Feng Wu have? She had to follow him in frustration. Luckily, it was the 15th day already. Feng Wu thought to herself, when the 18 days are over and this mission is completed, I won't be his maid anymore. The lake was filled with moonfish that would sell at a good price in the market, since they were hard to catch and very rare. But for Feng Wu and Jun Lin Yuan, catching moonfish was a piece of cake. They didn't even need any bait. Feng Wu just sat by the water and washed her hands. She then gathered her spiritual essence into a thread and lifted a fish out of the water by pulling the thread. The moonfish was about 1/2 meter long and a silver-white color. In the moonlight, it almost looked translucent. Let's go. Feng Wu put a straw rope she had braided through the fish's mouth, took Jun Lin Yuan's hand, and tried to leave because she wanted to get this over with as soon as possible. She had obtained some insight while they were traveling today, and she was looking for an opportunity to sit down and think it over. However, it was a beautiful night, and the Crown Prince obviously didn't plan to let Feng Wu go that easily. Xian Yi and Feng Sun will be here tonight, Jun Lin Yuan said casually as he lay down on the snow-white rock and rested his head on his crossed hands. They weren't with us before. Feng Wu was surprised. The Crown Prince glanced at Feng Wu before he turned his gaze to the sky in silence. That's right. Feng Wu rested her chin on her hands. Xian Yi sighed. If Feng Sun were here, he would definitely have come find us. But he didn't, not once. Yes, the Crown Prince nodded. If they're going to be here tonight, one fish indeed won't be enough. I remember that they can both eat a lot. Feng Wu caught a few more fish as she spoke. With her storage space, she could simply throw the moon fish inside. By the way, we won't see any moon fish again on our way to the Senile Grassland, will we? This was Feng Wu's first time going to the Senile Grassland, so she didn't know the terrain well. Jun Lin Yuan said casually, a fish is probably worth a cow there. What? Feng Wu's eyes lit up, and she looked at Jun Lin Yuan in excitement. Really? Are you sure? Jun Lin Yuan grunted. That's so profitable. If that's the case, we shouldn't let these fish go to waste. One fish for a cow? Just imagine that. Feng was getting excited just thinking about it. And a cow from the Senile Grassland is worth a low-grade spiritual stone in the mining area in the Central Plains. Jun Lin Yuan made another striking statement. Feng Wu, although she had a spiritual stone load, all the spiritual stones beneath the Feng Manor, low and top grade alike, went toward the formation. Feng Wu still had Chaoga, Chioling, Uncle Chio, and Xiaoqi to consider, and they all needed spiritual stones for their cultivation. So, these are all spiritual stones. No, I can't just watch them slip away. Her beautiful master was in her ring space. She would never put the fish in there. Chapter 1492, Untitled. Chapter 1492, Untitled. But aside from that, she still had another storage ring, which Jun Lin Yuan had given to her before, and it was where she could keep the fish. Feng Wu crouched down and opened up the ring, and soon, moonfish started pouring into it. 1, 2, 3, 101,000. In the end, Feng Wu lost count of how many there were. In short, there were a lot. Feng Wu exclaimed in surprise all of a sudden. "What's that?" Feng Wu snatched a moonfish out of the water and examined it curiously. There was something different about this moonfish, which was covered in a faint glow. She could detect a subtle hint of spiritual essence on it. Somehow, the fish struck her as odd, but she couldn't exactly pinpoint why. She was still trying to figure it out when Jun Linyuan walked over and crouched down next to her. His long, slender fingers reached over and took the chubby moonfish. The crown prince frowned a little. "Do you know what's with this fish?" Feng Wu looked curiously at Jun Linyuan. "Yes." He swiped his fingers across the scales of the fish, and a streak of blue light floated up. "Is that spiritual essence?" "This moonfish contains spiritual essence?" Feng Wu was confused. "The moonfish doesn't have it, but if they swallow something which contains spiritual essence, they'll have it in them," Jun Linyuan said. "If they've ingested spiritual essence by mistake, does that mean that there's something filled with spiritual essence in the lake?" Feng Wu's eyes lit up. Jun Linyuan didn't comment. "Shall I go down there and have a look?" Feng Wu asked him. Before she knew it, Feng Wu had started to get into this habit. "Let someone else go," Jun Linyuan said indifferently. "Was there anyone else around?" Feng Wu was still feeling bewildered when two figures approached them. "Boss Jun, we finally caught up with you. I was so worried." Feng Sun jumped at them and tried to hug Jun Linyuan, but of course, the crown prince wouldn't let him. Hence, Feng Sun turned to Feng Wu instead. "My dear sister." However, Jun Linyuan picked him up by the back of his collar before he could reach her. "Wah! Boss Jun! Boss Jun! Let me down! Let me down!" Feng Sun kicked around in the air. But soon, Feng Wu heard the sound of something falling into the water. Turning around, she saw that poor Feng Sun had just been thrown into the lake. Feng Sun was about to go ashore when Jun Linyuan stopped him. He said, "Since you're already there, dive deeper." Feng Sun was confused. Feng Wu immediately explained to him about the moonfish. Treasure hunting had always excited Feng Sun, so he dove in head first and quickly swam around in the lake. Feng Wu was confident that Feng Sun would be able to find the source right away, but, to her surprise, after coming back up for air 3 more times, Feng Sun still couldn't find anything. "Let me have a look." Xian Yi jumped in. Feng Sun and Xian Yi each covered half the lake after splitting it into quarters. That way, they could do a grid search and would soon find their answer. Chapter 1493, Untitled. Chapter 1493, Untitled. As expected, in less than 15 minutes, they heard from Xian. He handed Feng Wu a broken stone when he came back up. "I think you know what this is." Feng Sun craned his neck. "Xian, are you kidding me? I found quite a few of these shabby stones on my side as well, but I didn't think much of them." Xian didn't reply and only watched Feng Wu quietly. Taking the broken stone, it only took Feng Wu one look to realize what it was. This is a spiritual stone used in a formation. It's just that it's drained of spiritual essence, so it looks the same as any common stone. Feng Wu rose to her feet and studied the lake with a cold look in her eyes. She didn't expect to find a formation in the lake. Judging from what was left of the spiritual stones, this was no ordinary formation. "I'll go have a look." Feng Wu jumped into the lake after saying those words. She swam as nimbly as a fish in the lake, and before long, she arrived at the spot where Xian Yi found the stone. Grotesque stones and red coral of various shapes covered the bottom of the lake. Feng Wu was very level-headed for her age. "We'll search the area around this spot. We're looking for some spiritual stones. I need a baseline spiritual stone to deduce the type of formation used here." Feng Sun and Xian were both influential young lords who usually didn't take orders from anyone but Jun Linyuan. But before they knew it, they had started to believe everything Feng Wu said. With their help, Feng Wu soon discovered the pattern of the spiritual stones, and with that pattern, she was able to deduce the type of formation used. It's a level 5 formation. That's incredible. Feng Wu started looking for the core of the formation as she spoke. Because she had found the general direction, the search wasn't difficult at all. Feng Wu was in the front with Feng Sun on her left and Xianyi on her right. The three of them formed a triangle. A few times, Feng Sun thought that they hit a dead end when there was nothing in front of them but a wall of red coral. However, Feng Wu could somehow always lead them through it at an impossible angle. No wonder this secret had been hidden under the lake for so many years. If one didn't understand formations, they wouldn't know where to look. "We're here." They were passing under the archway of a bridge when Feng Wu said that. The scene they saw was quite impressive once they were on the other side of the archway. They thought they had arrived in hell. They were looking at a treasure ship. After years at the bottom of the lake, the ship was very dilapidated. There was some cargo on the ship, but there were more dead bodies. Some lay face down, some on their backs, and some had been impaled on poles. It was a horrible scene. "It's a shipwreck." Feng Sun was the first to rush toward it. However, "Stop!" Feng Wu stopped him. Luckily, Feng Sun always listened to Feng Wu, so he stopped at her command. He turned around and looked at Feng Wu in bewilderment. Feng Wu said grumpily, "Did you think that shipwrecks wouldn't have traps on them?" She then threw a stone at the ship. It hit the ship, and suddenly, squeak! There was a terrifying sound. Before Feng Sun realized what was going on, Feng Wu was already dragging him back. Chapter 1494, Untitled. Chapter 1494, Untitled. They had only just hidden behind a wall when they heard the sound of shooting arrows. The water should have hindered the arrows' movements, but it seemed that these arrows were able to overcome that resistance, and the impact they made resembled an explosion. It was terrifying. Whoosh! They just kept coming. Luckily, Feng Wu reacted in time. Otherwise, Feng Sun would have been injured, rushing out like that. Still shaken from the lingering fear, he looked at Feng Wu and heaved a sigh of relief. "That was close. If you didn't drag me away, I would have turned into a hedgehog by now." Feng Wu chuckled. "No, you won't. You would just have a few painful injuries. Nevertheless, those are some very malicious arrows. They only boarded the shipwreck after it was all over." "Hey, why are most of these dead people from the grassland?" Feng Sun examined the corpses curiously. The flesh had rotted away years ago, but they could still see that the dead people were descendants of the grassland from the bones. Xianyi said grumpily, "Grassland or not, it has nothing to do with us. Let's go find the thing." Feng Sun agreed. Compared with this discovery, they preferred the thrill of the treasure hunt. "I think someone beat us to it and took everything valuable." Feng Sun and Xianyi looked around and spoke in a sorry tone after they came back out. "Is there nothing left?" Feng Wu frowned. "No." Feng Sun sounded resigned. He had expected to find some treasure after they finally disabled the formation, but the ship had only turned out to be a shell. Feng Wu scratched her head. "That shouldn't be the case. Did someone get here before us?" She wouldn't believe it, so she went in to search herself. Feng Sun followed her and discouraged her as she looked around. "I told you already, there's nothing left. But you won't believe me and just have to look for yourself. You were so excited, but you're going to be disappointed." The cabin was utterly empty, as though someone had taken absolutely everything. While Feng Sun was sighing and moaning, Feng Wu was tapping on the walls with her fingers. Feng Sun looked at Feng Wu in resignation. He had told her that there was nothing here. Did she think she could find something by tapping? But to Feng Sun's surprise, after 3 long and 5 short taps, crackle, there was the sound of cracking wood. Feng Sun's eyes widened as he watched a medium-sized sealed box fall out of the wall. "That!" He stared at Feng Wu in bewilderment. How did you find it?" Feng Wu said innocently. "I just tapped randomly and it fell out." Feng Sun. It had obviously been hidden so well that the first group of people who got here hadn't found this hidden treasure box. "What's inside?" Feng Sun was curious. Feng Wu said, "We'll have a look once we're up on shore, since we have to leave now." Feng Sun was confused. "Why?" Feng Wu said, "Because the self-destruct mode was activated after this box fell out. This treasure ship will explode in less than a minute." Chapter 1495. Chapter 1495, Untitled. What? Hearing that, Feng Sun grabbed Feng Wu and dashed off. "Let's go. This is a formidable treasure ship, and we don't know how much of an impact the explosion will have. Just move as fast as you can." Feng Wu, Feng Sun, and Xian quickly left the bottom of the lake. The three of them had just climbed out of the lake when, whoosh, a formidable shockwave struck them from behind, and it was terrifying. Wave shot up and exploded in the air. Thump! The impact threw the three of them onto the bank. Luckily, Jun Linyuan had activated a protective skill before they hit the ground. Feng Wu opened her eyes to find herself already in Jun Linyuan's arms. That terrifying shockwave had been extinguished by Jun Linyuan's strike. Feng Wu was speechless. Even so, the water level was still rising quickly. "Water is going to get up here soon. Let's go." Still carrying Feng Wu in his arms, Jun Linyuan ran back to the campsite. Feng Sun and Xian followed him. It was a long distance for normal people, but to Jun Linyuan, it was only a matter of a few leaps. Jun Linyuan told Feng when they got back, "A flood is coming. Let's move up the hill." Everyone was dumbfounded. Why was there suddenly a flood? No one would believe it if it had come from someone else, but since it was Jun Linyuan who said it, no one questioned it. The carriages started moving again and were soon halfway up the hill. Just then, the water from the lake arrived. Everyone looked at Jun Linyuan in amazement. That was so impressive. How incredible. Jun Linyuan ignored them all. Instead, he carried Feng Wu back to their carriage. Feng Wu was still holding the box she found at the bottom of the lake, and she only opened it happily when they got back to the carriage. Feng Sun and Xian gathered around and watched curiously. "What's inside?" "I'm so curious," Feng Sun said expectantly. Feng Wu said, "It was so well hidden. I think it's some sort of top secret." The box was made from hard iron from the bottom of the ocean with a password consisting of formation codes. If one tried to pry it open by force, the box would destroy itself. That was to say, no one would know what was inside. Luckily, Feng Wu knew formations, and less than a handful of people in the entire Junwu Empire were better at her in them. With some deduction, she was able to solve the password in less than 5 minutes. With a click, the wondrous box opened. The first item, it was a messenger bottle. Feng Sun didn't open it right away, and only looked at Feng Wu. Feng Wu was amused, and she chuckled. "It's okay. There's no trap. Just open it." Feng Sun only opened the bottle after hearing Feng Wu's confirmation. "Hey, what's this?" Feng Sun took a light yellow parchment out of the bottle. On it was an illustration of mountains and rivers with notes written in a foreign language. "Hey, isn't that the language of Sinal? And isn't that Sheep Grass Mountain?" Feng Sun cried out. Feng Wu looked at him in confusion. Chapter 1496, Untitled. Chapter 1496, Untitled. Feng Sun couldn't hold back his excitement. "That's a treasure map, isn't it? Am I right?" Feng Sun showed it to Jun Linyuan as he spoke. Jun Linyuan glanced at him and gave a slight nod. That immediately settled Feng Sun's mind, and he said excitedly, "So, that's a real treasure map?" He looked at Jun Linyuan with twinkling eyes as he spoke. Jun Linyuan nodded again. "And the treasure belongs to the royal family of Sinal." Holy crap! Feng Sun was so excited that he almost jumped up. The grassland was a region, and the Sinal grassland was the most wealthy of them all. If they could obtain the treasure of the royal family, that would be... Even Feng Wu was thrilled, let alone Feng Sun. This would be so much more profitable than selling moonfish. "And? Is there more?" Feng Sun asked anxiously. Feng Wu took a second object out of the box. It was a booklet. Technically, it was a notebook. Feng Wu opened it and saw that it was the record of a solitary trip. This booklet belonged to someone called Malmo, who wrote all this. After turning a few pages, Feng Wu saw that it was all written in the Sino language, which gave her a headache, so she gave the booklet back to Feng Sun. Malmo. Feng Sun was utterly surprised. I've heard that name before. If I remember correctly, he was the previous crown prince and should have become the king. Really? Feng Wu raised an eyebrow. Have we discovered some sort of secret of the royal family? That's okay. We'll have a closer look later. Putting the booklet aside, Feng Wu took out the third object. It was a jade slip. Feng Wu cried out softly when she injected her spiritual essence into the jade slip. Immediately, all eyes were on her. Feng Wu said, "It contains a cultivation technique known as Nirvana of Omen." Feng Sun was surprised. Nirvana of Omen? Are you sure? Is it really Nirvana of Omen? Feng Wu looked at Feng Sun in bewilderment. Have you heard of this technique before? Feng Sun said, "Of course I have. That's the most superior cultivation technique in the grassland, and only the royal family can access it. Moreover, it's only for the most promising members. If I remember correctly, after this slip was lost, so was the cultivation technique." Feng Sun then smacked his own thigh. "Only those with the grassland bloodline can learn it, so it doesn't mean much to us. But don't worry. With it, we'll be able to get a lot of things." Ha ha ha. Feng Sun was so excited that he prompted Feng Wu. "And? Is there more? Take it out quickly." Feng Wu waved him off grumpily. "There's also a dagger, and it looks a bit old. Oh God, that has to be Malmo's personal dagger. It has to be. Little Feng Wu, you're awesome." Feng Sun patted her arm in excitement. "You know what? The objects in the box may not seem like much, but if we make good use of them, we can turn the Sino grassland upside down if we want. You're our lucky star." Feng Sun patted Feng Wu on the back. Chapter 1497, Untitled. Chapter 1497, Untitled. He only realized that he had patted her too hard when Jun Lin Yuan threw a dirty look at him. "Ha ha, Xiao Wu, are you all right?" Seeing the way the girl stumbled under his patting, Feng Sun scratched his head, looking ashamed. Feng Wu waved at him. "That's all right. You guys enjoy your chat. I'm hungry. I'll go roast you some fish." Those moon fish couldn't go to waste. They were at the best location halfway up the hill. Feng Wu chose the best spot and had Feng Sun set up the grill for her. Moonfish didn't have a single scale and were very easy to clean. After removing the entrails and rinsing the fish, Feng Wu made 3 cuts on each fish, used some ginger to get rid of the fishy smell, and seasoned them with a special concoction she made herself. Meanwhile, she also stuffed the fish with spices that she had gathered during the trip. Once everyone was given their tasks, Feng Sun started setting up the grill while he went to find some firewood. Because they were out in the open, the other people were able to see everything they were doing. Families like the Zhou family were especially shocked when they saw the way Feng Wu ordered Feng Sun and Xian eat around. How is that even possible? What magic did Feng Wu have? Why did influential young lords like Feng Sun and Xian get along so well with her? The harmonious scene stung many eyes and broke many hearts. Seeing that the moonfish was properly seasoned, Feng Wu came out of the tent and took over the job. "I'm starving." Feng Sun patted his stomach and looked resentful. Feng Wu patted his head the way one would pacify a puppy dog. There. It's almost done. Just another 15 minutes. All right, I'll just sit here and wait." Feng Sun sat down cross-legged and rested his chin on his hands. The way he blinked looked quite adorable. That was how Feng Wu and Feng Sun interacted with each other on a daily basis. But to other people, that was the most incredible thing. Why is young Lord Feng so obedient with Feng Wu? And young Lord Xian as well. Feng Wu is just a bed-warming maid. How does she do it? The entourage this time was quite sizable, and there were high-ranking officials, first-ranked dames, princes and princesses of all sorts. They were all arrogant people that used to look down on Feng Wu. But now, they suddenly realized that Feng Wu was so important to Feng Sun and Xian, which utterly confused them. They were so overwhelmed with jealousy that they had no time to analyze it. All they knew were their jealous feelings. Feng Wu didn't know what the others were thinking, but even if she did, she wouldn't care at all. She mulled over her cultivation technique as she busied herself with roasting the fish. She had mastered the 3 stances her beautiful master taught her, but she still didn't know where she could find the 4th one. Her master had disappeared so suddenly that she probably had to wait until he woke up to learn the 4th stance. Feng Wu patted her own head in frustration. She was only on the 6th mission of the 12 trials of love, and the 6th one had been extended. She couldn't imagine how torturous the future ones would be. As she skillfully coated the roast fish with sauce, she racked her brain and tried to predict what might happen next and what precautions she would have to take. Chapter 1498, Untitled. Chapter 1498, Untitled. Although she was absent-minded, the fish turned out excellent. The Empress Dowager, Emperor Wu, and Jun Linyuan were the core of the convoy, so the 3 of them weren't so far apart. As soon as the fish was ready, the aroma filled the air. The Empress Dowager just happened to be downwind, so the intense scent drifted her way. "That smells so nice." Feng Sun was so intrigued by the aroma that his mouth watered. Feng Wu was already an excellent cook to begin with. The moonfish was naturally tasty, and Feng Wu had used a tiny formation to gather spiritual essence when she was cooking. As a result, Xiao Wu. Feng Sun blinked at Feng Wu. His big sparkling eyes could melt one's heart. Feng Wu only gave him a grumpy look and rubbed his head. "Wait. All right." Feng Sun looked as pitiful as a puppy dog. Just then, he sensed a cold glance aimed at him. A chill ran up his legs, and his back stiffened. Turning his head involuntarily, he saw. The crown prince was glaring at him with eyes so cold that they could freeze the air. SSSS. Feng Sun drew in his breath. He detected jealousy. Boss Jun was jealous. At that thought, Feng Sun immediately moved away. Feng Wu had just torn off a palm-sized piece of fish and was handing it to Feng Sun when he moved away. He didn't even get to his feet when he jumped back. Feng Wu was surprised. "What?" Looking around, Feng Sun saw that he was no longer being stared at. When he looked again, he saw that Boss Jun was no longer there. "Haha, it's nothing. I was mistaken." Feng Sun and Xian were travel-worn and weary from their long journey here. They didn't even have time to rest on their way, let alone feed themselves. By now, they were so hungry that they thought they were going to pass out. "Aren't you hungry? Take it." Feng Wu wrapped a green lotus leaf around the roast fish and handed it to Feng Sun. Feng Sun took it and breathed in deeply. That aroma was insane. Without thinking, he stuffed it into his mouth. Wow, it tasted even better than it smelled. It was maddening. That was so delicious. "Wow, that tastes great. Xiao Wu, you're such an amazing cook." Feng Sun's words were muffled with all the fish in his mouth, but one could tell what he wanted to say from his sparkling eyes. Xian was also eating, but he wasn't wolfing it down like Feng Sun. He was much more civilized. He might eat like a refined man, but he wasn't slower than Feng Sun by any means. Feng Sun and Xian finished their portions in less than 3 seconds, and they involuntarily turned their heads toward Feng Wu. She was still holding a moonfish about half a meter long. "Xiao Wu," Feng Sun cried out, and the next second, he jumped at Feng Wu. Feng Wu said grumpily, "Don't get too excited. I'll give it to you." However, Feng Sun didn't get it in the end because Xian got there first. "Damn it, Xian, how can you do that? I didn't know you were that type of person." Feng Sun was exasperated. That man was so mean. That you're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.